Chapter 830. Luo Qingshun didn't care about her eyes. She was filled with satisfaction when she took the red book. After coming out of the bureau, she took out her green book and tore it to pieces. Then she seriously said, "I hate green the most in this life." Hichin saw her cute appearance, and his lips couldn't help curling into a smile. Without knowing why, he felt that he truly had her at this moment. It was completely different from the feeling of marrying her last time. That Luo Qingshun looked at Hichan beside her and said, "You don't need to send me to the set. I'll go by myself." He was surprised. When she said this, he was actually a bit disappointed. But Hichan, who had always pampered her, didn't force her. "You don't need to go tonight, either." Luo Qingshun seemed to have thought of something as her eyes lit up. "All right, then be careful." Hichan was surprised, but he still agreed. Luo Qingshun casually said goodbye to him with a smile on her lips. Hichan would never know that today was his birthday. When she came to the set, Big Sister AI was already waiting for her. Her face didn't look good, but she couldn't say anything because of Hichan's face. "You're a bit late." Ji Lisheng had already changed his clothes. He waved the script in his hand with a faint smile in his eyes. He was wearing a rustic blue school uniform, but it didn't stop him from being handsome. Luo Qingshun said with a nod. "I had something important to do, so I came late. Change your clothes first." Ji Lisheng reminded her to change her clothes, but he didn't forget to tell her a piece of bad news. "We said that we would discuss the filming location, but we bumped into it on the first day. We bumped into Sutang." Ji Lisheng's brows slightly moved as he said, "I just happened to take a look. The noble school next door has a pretty good uniform, but it's not as handsome as me. Look at how confident you are." Luo Qingshun took the clothes handed to her by the stylist and said, "I'm going to change first." Because filming took place one by one, they didn't have to act from the beginning according to the script. Luo Qingshun's first scene was about being bullied by White Lotus on campus, and then using her own IQ, she slapped her face. During this scene, the crew of Sutang happened to be watching from the side. Whether it was by Yi or Bei Chun and I, they both regarded Luo Qingshun as a thorn in their side, but they did not join forces, because they also saw the other party as a thorn in their side. 1, 2, 3, action! After the director shouted start, White Lotus walked past Feng Chung with a box of black ink in his hand and sprinkled it all over her body. A sinister voice sounded, "Oh, I'm so sorry. The uniform you bought with money from your part-time job is dirty again." Feng Chung narrowed his eyes and looked coldly at White Lotus without saying a word. In fact, she was waiting for her to finish. However, just as White Lotus was about to say her next line, Bai Yi said, "This acting is really bad. You're acting so timid when you're acting as a bad person. Let your sister Yi teach you." The girl who played White Lotus was a newcomer and was scared by Bai Yi's words. Bai Yi ignored the gazes of others and walked up, her eyes full of arrogance. Her appearance could be said to be killing two birds with one stone. First, she could let her director see her strength. Second, she really wanted to hit Luo Qingshun. Chapter 831. The director frowned. Just as he was about to refuse, he found that Bai Yi had already walked over and rudely took away the remaining ink in White Lotus's hand. Luo Qingshun narrowed her eyes and her lips curled into a faint smile. At this time, Bai Yi's delicate voice sounded out, and her every movement was filled with her own character. But she didn't have a chance to speak because the moment she raised the ink, Luo Qingshun's left hand firmly grabbed her wrist and her right hand slapped her. "Pa!" A crisp sound resounded throughout the entire campus. Feng Chung's lips curled into a smile. "Since you want to make a move, you should be a bit more ruthless. This bit of ink is too useless." At this time, Bai Yi's eyes were wide open as she looked at her in disbelief. Her entire person was in a state of confusion. You actually hit me?" After a few seconds, she covered her face as tears flashed in her eyes. She used her eyes to signal for the assistant beside her to take a picture. "Since Miss Bai wants to play the role of our crew, you should at least." A faint guang flashed in her eyes as the corners of her lips curled up. Look at the script. You really are despicable. Bai Yi could hear the meaning behind Luo Qingqian's words. Although her eyes were filled with unwillingness, she didn't dare say anything. However, she had Weibo, she had fans, and she could reverse right and wrong. I admit it. She shrugged, looking like she didn't care at all. When she left, she didn't forget to say, although Miss Bai Yi's acting is her own character, but it's still very bad. Don't learn from her. I know. The newcomer playing, White Lotus, was clearly a bit timid as she gently nodded. The next few scenes tested their acting skills. The director and the crew thought it would take at least 2 or 3 days to hone their skills. But they never thought that Luo Qingqian and Ji Lisheng would be able to act out all the explosive points of Yin Fan and Feng Cheng. There were even several scenes where the director forgot to shout cut and let them continue acting. It was not until dusk that the director reluctantly announced the end of the shoot. Originally, they would have needed 3 days to finish filming the scenes, but they spent 1 day to complete them. He already knew about Ji Lisheng's acting skills, but Luo Qingqian, today his eyes really lit up. She seemed to have been born to be an actress. If one had to use a word to describe him, it would probably be genius. But even if she was a genius, a newcomer acting as the female lead of 10 years would still attract gossip. This is the female lead of 10 years. Sister Yi seemed to have suffered at her hands just now. He doesn't seem famous. I heard he's an internal employee of Star Art. Employees. Star Art is already so big. I remember that there are still many big names in Star Art. This proves that his background is strong enough. But I'm not willing to sleep with an old man in his 70s or 80s just to be the female lead of 10 years. Luo Qingqian naturally heard their whispers, but she never thought that the one to stop them wasn't anyone else, but rather Yi Zuochuan. What nonsense are you saying? Yi Zuochuan crossed his hands and looked at the 2 supporting characters in front of him. Is it your turn to talk about other people's matters? You don't even want to act as extras? Chapter 832. Luo Qingqian was a bit surprised. She never thought that Yi Zuochuan would say this. But this didn't seem to matter to her at all. Mr. Yi, we're sorry. We spoke too much. The 2 girls quickly apologized with worried looks, as if they were afraid of losing this role. Yi Zuochuan didn't say anything. He just walked over to Luo Qingqian with a bit of heat in his eyes. Qingqian. He lowered his head and awkwardly said, I'm really sorry about yesterday. I was reckless. His movements were gentlemanly and elegant. In Yi Zuochuan's eyes, he could make Luo Qingqian come back to his side with just a single sentence. That was how confident he was. Unhumph. She looked up with cold eyes and crossed her arms. What does that have to do with me? He was stopped by the words drawing the line, and suddenly felt a bit awkward. He hesitated for a bit before saying, I'll send you back. Luo Qingqian looked at Linda on the side and said, all right. The weather wasn't good tonight. There was thunder and lightning in the sky, like a typhoon was about to arrive. She turned on her phone, and the app was located at the cake shop. Yi Zuochuan kept talking to himself on the way, and she didn't say a single word to him. When the car arrived at the cake shop, Luo Qingqian turned to look at him and said, Do you know why I had you send me back? Because we are friends. He was a bit surprised, never thinking that Luo Qingqian would ask this question. No, she said in a daze, because this was one of her wishes. I want to tell her that her wish isn't worth it. Who is the her you're talking about? I recognize. It's not important. Luo Qingqian said with a cold laugh. We can only be enemies from now on. We can never be friends. As soon as her voice fell, she opened the car door and walked into the cake shop without looking back. The rain soaked her clothes, but she didn't care at all, because she knew that there was an RX-7 parked not far away, and He-Chun was nearby. The fact that his favorability towards her didn't decrease proved that although he was anxious, he still believed in her. Even if she refused him, even if she got into Yi Zuochuan's car. As soon as he entered the door of Kelly Cake's shop, the waitress came up with a smile and asked, What can I do for you? I've already placed an order for a custom-made 20-inch cake. The waitress immediately reacted and said with a smile, You are Miss Luo, right? Your cake is already packaged. With such a big cake, there must be many people celebrating your birthday. Luo Qingxian thought for a while, then blinked her eyes and said, 2. Then, she received an awkward and dazed expression from the waiter. The rain continued to fall outside the window. Yi Zuochuan's car was still parked at the door, as if he wanted to make a final struggle. Luo Qingxian called He-Chen, not for anything else but to tell him. In Luo Qingxian's heart, He-Chen was several million times more important than Yi Zuochuan. She wanted He-Chen to know that the first person she would look for when it rained was him, not Yi Zuochuan, who was close by. This was the other reason why she got into Yi Zuochuan's car. He-Chen, who was sitting in the car, was very nervous. He believed in her, but he didn't believe in himself. It must be very strange that the president of over 100 million didn't believe in himself. It wasn't Linda who told him that she got into Yi Zuochuan's car. Rather, he was waiting at the door. Chapter 833. Ding-ling. When his phone rang, the caller ID was wife. He changed it when he woke up this morning. There was no struggle, just a bit of excitement. At that moment, he saw Luo Qingxian standing at the door of the cake shop through the window, and his lips couldn't help curling into a faint smile. Without knowing why, his heart felt very warm. Yi Zuochuan's car was only 2 steps away from her. She didn't get in his car and called him instead. What kind of feeling was this? There was no one in this world that could understand. Hey, he softly said, and her sweet voice came from the other side. He-Chen, I don't have an umbrella. Can you come pick me up? I'll treat you to a meal. She pursed her lips and spoke in a spoiled voice. Okay. He hung up the phone, took out an umbrella from the car, and got out of the car. It was raining heavily, and there was a lot of traffic. When He-Chen opened the umbrella, he felt like his world was about to light up. Yi Zuochuan watched He-Chen walk into the cake shop and come to her side, taking her waist. He firmly protected her by his side, protecting her under his umbrella. How about it? Does this count as me arriving at your call? He-Chen looked at Yi Zuochuan's car, and his hand holding her waist became even tighter. She gave a soft laugh and rubbed against his chest with a smile that was hard to hide on her lips. When they got into the car, Luo Qingxian carefully put the 20-inch cake away before turning to He-Chen. Come, we're going to eat. You still like to buy such a big cake. He-Chen narrowed his eyes and looked at the taste on the packaging. His lips curled into a faint smile as he said, the taste hasn't changed. Taste. Luo Qingxian slightly knit her brows as memories filled her mind. She didn't remember the previous host buying a cake for He-Chen. So why did He-Chen say this? It's nothing. He shook his head and said, what big day you bought a cake? He-Chen's expression was very casual when he asked this. It seemed like he really didn't remember his birthday at all. Moreover, he should have completely forgotten about it. He didn't say it on purpose. Let's go to the Michelin restaurant first. I made a reservation. Luo Qingxian blinked and continued. You can treat it as a remarriage anniversary. The elegant restaurant, melodious music, and the faint aroma of red wine. Luo Qingxian swirled the wine glass in her hand and said, Mr. He, let's toast. Ding! The crisp sound of the goblets colliding was pleasant to the ears. She looked at the cake beside her and said, He-Chen, happy birthday. He was slightly taken aback, but in the next second, he seemed to have thought of something. He smiled and said, Thank you. At this moment, all the blood in his body seemed to be boiling, spreading straight to his heart. He suddenly began to rejoice that he had trusted her, rejoice that she was still by his side. Ding! Affection has increased by 10. Mission completion rate is now 60%. You really forgot? She looked at him in disbelief. After all, she had bought such a big cake and even treated him to a meal. He could definitely guess it. He said with a nod, I haven't celebrated my birthday in 10 years. I don't remember. He-Chen was a bit sad when he said this. Luo Qingxian didn't understand, but she didn't ask. Cuckoo. She just cleared her throat and said, It seems like I was right to buy such a big cake. After all, it's been so many years. I have to make up for it. How about it? Director He, please make a wish. Chapter 834. At that moment, the one who was stunned was Luo Qingxian. It was just a simple sentence, but it suddenly became very warm. Under the intoxicating light, She narrowed her eyes to look at Yi-chun in front of her and suddenly felt that he was a bit familiar. It was so familiar that she couldn't help asking, "Have we met before?" Time flew by, and the growth rings didn't disappear. It was like when she was young, under the dazzling sunlight, she had seen this side profile before. It was like his face was glowing with a touch of sadness and pain. Yi-chun didn't reply, and the air was filled with silence. Until his phone rang again and again. It finally reached a point where he couldn't ignore it. Yi-chun picked it up, and it was Sister AI's voice that came out. "Quickly have Luo Qingshan come back to Star Art. Something has happened." Yi-chun replied. "I'll come back after dinner." Luo Qingshan didn't know what Sister AI said to him, but she completely understood when she came back to Star Art. She had a very happy dinner, but Yi-chun had a lot on his mind when he was eating, because that by who said she would post on Weibo really did. As a newcomer, respect is the most basic thing, not hostility. Learning how to reflect is the first step to becoming an actor. Attach picture. A picture of the slap. There are all kinds of comments from fans on Weibo. A group of people who didn't know the situation thought that they were standing at the top of morality, criticizing others. "Damn, who is this? She really is ugly. She actually slapped and hugged my Ibao in pain. Hee. Shameless. Is this kind of person worthy of being an actor?" I know what happened. It's the cast of 10 years. They had our Ibao help guide the newcomer. I never thought that the female lead would directly slap her. This is simply unforgivable. Trash 10 years. F** King newcomer. Ibao, we will always be your support. Since Luo Qingshan didn't have a Weibo account, those who labeled themselves as true fans directly went to Zhishui's Weibo to complain. However, Zhishui's fans were dozens of times more than Bai Yi's. Whether it was the management or the fans before Zhishui made a statement, there was only one thing they did: keep silent and delete comments. The best way now is for Bai Yi to come out and clarify herself. This is just a matter of the plot. I will contact her as soon as possible. Sister AI sighed. Based on her many years of experience, she wanted to suppress this matter. This method is definitely not the best one. Luo Qingshan narrowed her cold eyes, and a faint smile appeared on her lips. She took out her mobile phone from her bag and said, "Since she likes to send photos so much, why don't we send her a video?" Being in such a treacherous entertainment industry, she naturally had to protect herself first. So when Bai Yi said the word Weibo last time, she left a way out for herself. But if we send it out now, the credibility is too low. Although Sister AI's face showed a little relaxed expression, she still raised a question. Luo Qingshan pursed her lips and said, "If the time of posting this small video is before the time of Bai Yi's Weibo, how credible is it?" Chapter 835. Of course it was possible. This was all thanks to Yi-chun's secretary Linda. If it wasn't for Linda, no one would have recorded this video and sent it out ahead of time. Let's go back to when Luo Qingshan was with the crew. Is it confirmed that the two crews will share the same set today? But you can be assured, this matter will be taken care of tomorrow. I'm very assured, but you have to help me with something. What? If someone deliberately does something when we're acting, you have to help me record it. All right, I know. Young Miss Luo really is careful. I'll record it and send it to you. No. Luo Qingshan thought of the Weibo post by Yi mentioned last night and slightly knit her brows. Just open a Weibo account and send this video out. Do it if there is, forget it if there isn't. Luo Qingshan naturally wasn't certain that Bai Yi would do something, but it was better to be prepared. She never thought that Bai Yi wouldn't disappoint her, bravely killing her way out. Damn, it's so clear. Sister AI's face was filled with joy. She could almost imagine Bai Yi's face being slapped. Luo Qingshan thought for a bit before continuing. It's a good thing we prepared for her. This circle really is complicated. If it wasn't for her, I wouldn't have come. What for? Yi-chun came in through the door, not saying what he was doing just now. He left her alone to face the dark-faced Sister AI, although Sister AI's face was much better now. For Luo Qingshan thought for a bit before saying, shining brightly. This was definitely the truth, the naked truth. Then leave the rest to me. Sister AI turned on the computer while dealing with this crisis. Her face became calm and collected. When she turned on her computer, the headlines changed. 1. By E. Directed and acted 2. Great God, je suis 5873. 10 years vs. Sutang. My God, je suis posted on Weibo. Sister AI couldn't believe it. All the fans of Shui rushed to Bai Yi's Weibo and began to bombard her. There was no politeness between the lines. A string of love has yet to be written, and the sorrow of parting is difficult to write. More than 10 years have passed, and the flowers have only bloomed a few times. Attached photo. Feng Cheng's back view JPG. We can finally fight back. Hashtag Masters V587 hashtag isn't by EE from the Su Tang crew. Why'd he come to 10 years? Freeloading? Confessing to Master Shui. The female lead you chose will always be the most beautiful. Then, the public relations team of 10 years forwarded the Weibo post. The reason for the repost was very short, with only a few words. The most important thing is time. At this moment, all the public opinion was like a tide in the direction of Luo Qingchen. Self-directed and self-acting, hee. The biggest self-directed play of the year. Someone else's play was actually so righteous. Only an 18-tier star like Bai Yi could do something like this. Ha! The taste of being slapped in the face is so good. I suddenly became a fan of the female lead of 10 years because she didn't even bother to stand up for herself. In less than 15 minutes, Parkway's Yizhua Chuan called Sister AI. Sister AI decisively hung up, and hung up. Chapter 836. The next morning, when Luo Qingchen arrived at the set, she was surrounded by a large group of reporters. Even though Sister AI had already prepared beforehand, she had a hat and glasses. Even the questions to answer the reporters had already been finalized with Luo Qingchen. But when the countless flashes flashed in front of her eyes, she felt very irritated. Miss Luo, I heard that you landed in 10 years because of your strong backing. What do you think about Yi's self-directed play last night? Do you have some kind of unspeakable relationship with Star Arts higher-ups? Miss Luo, please respond. Do you feel scared after being on the hot search list several times last night? In the next second, Luo Qingchen stopped. She sneered and said, scared? In an instant, all the cameras were pointed at her. She shrugged and said, I could be on the hot search list for slapping scum's face. I could be on the hot search list for hitting people. I can even be on the hot search list for bad words. But to be on the hot search list with Bai Yi, I only have one feeling. That is, she didn't give the reporters a chance to ask and quickly replied, losing face. Were the reporters' heads made of artillery? They actually felt that she was scared. In an instant, everyone was stunned. They didn't even have time to press the shutter as Luo Qingchen disappeared around the corner alone. When Luo Qingchen walked into the school, Ji Lisheng told her that she was on the hot search list again. This time, the hot search list was 1. National male god Luo Qingchen 2. How to use face slapping to the fullest 3. The female lead of 10 years throws down ruthless words. What's the situation? Luo Qingchen looked at it and looked at Ji Lisheng with a trace of doubt. This show business really is unpredictable. Now I know. Ji Lisheng chuckled and said, true and false. How could outsiders know what exactly happened? But you're really an expert. I was prepared in advance. Luo Qingchen thought for a moment and said, if I didn't have a personal grudge with Bai Yi, I would also, you don't know how to be careful and start scheming. The corner of Ji Lisheng's mouth unconsciously curled into a faint smile. His chestnut-colored hair exuded the smell of youth. No, Luo Qingchen replied almost instantly. I've always been a schemer. Don't you think it's too late for you to realize that today? Huh. Ji Lisheng's eyes were filled with admiration as he said, honest enough? I like it. Thank you, Luo Qingchen said with a relaxed smile. I hope I can live up to the title of master you gave me. After a long time, Ji Lisheng slowly said, I said you were an expert because you were able to make Shui post on Weibo for you. Do you know that he has never done this before? The most mysterious person in the world of writing. No one had ever seen his true face, and he had never attended any events. But the more mysterious he was, the more people believed in him, and he would have a large number of fans. He was even better than many of the first-line writers and was the pride of the world of writing. Luo Qingqian heard this, and her heart trembled. Has he never posted on Weibo before? She didn't understand much about Weibo, but the previous owner had worshipped Zhishui for a long time. This worship had even affected her at some point. Of course, he only posted a total of 11 posts, and the first 10 were all very simple. What? Chapter 837. Every year on the 3rd of November, he would post on Weibo. There was nothing else, not even a picture. Just a few simple words, happy birthday. November 3rd, November 3rd, November 3rd. Wasn't this supposed to be her birthday? God, she actually had the same birthday as God Zhishui. When Yichen sent her home at night, she had been excitedly talking about this in the car. You really aren't bringing me to see Zhishui. Luo Qingqian thought about it before changing her words. Or should I say, have you seen him before? He said with a nod, is normally busy and doesn't like being disturbed. It's like this. Then he, ding-ling. When Luo Qingqian wanted to ask something, Yichen's phone cut her off. The one calling was Linda. Yichen's expression changed 10 seconds into the call. He suddenly stepped on the brakes and looked at Luo Qingqian beside him. After a while, he said, I got it. What is it? Luo Qingqian pursed her lips as a trace of worry flashed in her eyes. She rarely saw Yichen like this. This was the first time since they had known each other. Nothing. Yichen shook his head. Go home first. I have a meeting later. His voice was very calm, without any fluctuations, but Luo Qingqian knew that there was something in his heart. I got it. She took a deep breath and got out of the car. It would be a lie to say that she wasn't angry at all. There wasn't a girl who could be calm in front of the person they liked. Luo Qingqian knew that Yichen was hiding something from her. Moreover, this matter was most likely related to her. But what could she do? She rushed forward and refused to let him go. She wanted him to make things clear, or she could calmly wait for him to tell her what happened. The former and the latter weren't like her style, but if she had to choose, she would choose the latter. At the same time, in a luxurious hotel room, Linda followed behind him and accompanied him to participate in tonight's late dinner. Director he long time no see. The one who spoke was Bai Yi. Her complexion was not very good. It was probably because of the pressure of public opinion these past 2 days that she hadn't slept well. Standing beside Bai Yi was a girl wearing a moon-white dress. She had long black hair and a pair of large eyes. Miss Bai, I've already shown Mr. He the information you sent me. Linda's eyes flashed as she looked at her and said, Mr. He only wants to know one thing right now. Don't be anxious. Since I brought Fei here, it proves everything. Bai Yi gave another stack of information to Yichen. Fei is my good friend. She went abroad to study when she was 9 and just came back a few days ago. She told me some things that reminded me of Mr. He. Yichen narrowed his eyes and looked over Gu Fei, but he didn't say anything. Linda gave the information to Yichen and softly said she shouldn't be lying. Don't you remember me? Gu Fei's delicate voice slowly sounded. She gently bit her lip and said, 10 years ago at the Ren Exine Hospital, we met. Yichen suddenly froze. The memories in his mind came back, and the scene from 10 years ago appeared in front of his eyes like a movie. Chapter 838. 10 years ago in the Ren Exine Hospital, Yichen wasn't the high and mighty CEO of Star Art. At that time, he was just a youth who had been abandoned by his father, and his mother was seriously ill. The corridor of the hospital was filled with the smell of formalin, and a young girl was holding a teddy bear as she walked down the corridor alone. She had a drip in her hand, and there were 2 servants behind her. The doctor stood in front of the youth and said to him, Your mother's surgery will cost at least 50,000 yuan, so the chance of success is very high. But if you can't pay this amount, you'll be discharged tomorrow. The youth gave a slight nod. He didn't say anything, but his fists were clenched even tighter. He closed his eyes, and when he opened them again, he met the young girl's eyes. It was a pair of eyes that didn't understand the world and were as clear as water. The clear sound of a cell phone rang, and there was an apology from her parents. Because the plane was late, they couldn't come to her birthday party. The young girl was a spoiled young miss at that time, but when she heard that her parents would be absent from her birthday party, she threw her phone angrily. She threw her phone on the ground angrily and put her hands in her pockets, looking unhappy. There was a bank card in her pocket that her father had given her 3 days ago. It was a black card with no limit. The maid behind her quickly comforted her. Young miss, the young master, and the young madam couldn't come to the young miss' birthday party because of work. Young miss, don't be unhappy. Right. They've already invited all the young miss friends to the Royal Noble Hotel for the young miss birthday party. When this bottle of serene is finished, the driver will take us there. I don't attend birthday parties. The young girl pursed her lips. She looked at the motionless youth in front of her and slowly walked over. Do you want 50,000 yuan? The young girl directly said, looking at the shocked youth. The youth nodded as his eyes were deep. She took out the black card in her pocket and looked at him as she said, Here, the password is 200300. She didn't know why she did this. She wanted the youth's attention or her parents' attention. The rebellious part of adolescence was that when you thought about it later, you couldn't remember how you felt at that time. If she wanted to do this, then she would do it. I want 50,000, not 5 yuan. The youth calmly looked at her like he thought she was joking. But at this moment, he felt that she was so pure when she was joking with him. There's more than 50,000 in here. The girl chuckled and stuffed the black card into his hand. But I have a condition. The girl's condition was very simple. She wanted the second button of the boy's shirt. When she was a student, she had heard that the second button on a boy's shirt could bring luck and make wishes. She couldn't wait for her parents to be by her side on her next birthday, instead of leaving her alone in the cold hospital. In the end, the young man agreed to the girl's conditions and withdrew $50,000 from the girl's black card. Not a single cent more. At that moment, he told himself over and over again that he would remember this person and would never forget him for the rest of his life. However, such a sum of 50,000 was an astronomical figure in the youth's world. Such a young girl was an unreachable dream, a dream that could be engraved in his heart. Chapter 839. The memories of the past flashed in his mind again and again. Ichin narrowed his eyes to look at Gufei Air in front of him as a deep glow appeared in his eyes. Gufei Air looked at Bai Yi beside her before looking at He-chun. You really don't remember? I remember. He narrowed his eyes, and there wasn't a single ripple in his voice. Bai Yi saw this and immediately said, I paid attention to Director He's interview in the magazine last time, and Fei Air told me the same story after she came back. I thought that you two should know each other. As soon as her voice fell, Bai Yi looked at Gufei Air with a gaze that couldn't be explained. Gufei Air immediately nodded. I never thought that we would meet again. The snow in December, it really left a deep impression on me. Ichin didn't say anything and just sat down. His eyes were fixed on a certain part of the document as his lips curled into a smile that no one knew about. Bai Yi immediately said, Director, he wouldn't be doubting me, right? She was clearly a bit nervous when she said this. Although she was a professional, acting in front of He-chun made people's hair stand on end. However, she was now at the end of her rope. The public opinion on Weibo was leaning towards Luo Qingchen. She was currently at the center of the entertainment industry, and even Yi Chuan ignored her. In this situation, she had to stake everything. Yi Chuan had told her some gossip that Luo Qingchen didn't know about, some secrets about He-chun that no one knew about. Half a year ago, the Luo family was in a financial crisis and was about to go bankrupt, but He-chun came out to save them. Not long after, he secretly married Luo Qingchen. Because Yi Chuan had to get close to Luo Qingchen to steal some data from Star Art, he found people in the industry to investigate He-chun. He-chun wanted to marry Luo Qingchen to repay a favor. When He-chun's mother was in critical condition at the Ren Exine Hospital, there was a benefactor who came out to save her. In He-chun's mind, this benefactor was Luo Qingchen. But who could be sure that it was Luo Qingchen? Or it could be said that in addition to Luo Qingchen, there was no one else at the scene in Renqing Hospital. Gufei did not lie. She was indeed there when she was only 9 years old. However, at that time, Gufei was the daughter of a nurse and came to wait for her mother to get off work together. She had witnessed everything, but she was not the female lead with a shining halo. December snow. Hee-chin looked up and his deep eyes sunk. Your birthday, Gu Fei-er was stunned. Her eyes flickered. She didn't want to lie, but she knew that she had to do so. She had thought about Hee-chan for all these years and finally had a chance to cooperate with Bai. She definitely couldn't drop the chain at this time. Yes, December 8th. Gu Fei-er chuckled and said, that day it really snowed heavily. Bai saw this and immediately said, you really are lucky being able to know Director He from that time. December 8th was Luo Qingchen's birthday. If she had to find a girl to replace her to confuse Hee-chan, that girl's birthday had to be the same as Luo Qingchen's. Since that night was that important to Hee-chan, he would definitely remember this day. Chapter 840. After a while, Hee-chan put down all the documents and looked at Bai Yi. Speak, what do you want? He naturally knew that Bai Yi had a goal, and it wasn't that simple. Director He, you must be joking. Bai Yi heard this, and her nervous expression relaxed. She looked at Hee-chan with a smile. I just felt that the story between my best friend and Director He when they were young was like a fairy tale. So, I specially pulled this string. In Bai Yi's eyes, it was clear that Hee-chan believed it. Is that so? Hee-chan had an inquisitive look in his eyes as he slowly said in a cold voice, a straightforward person doesn't beat around the bush. That, Bai Yi said in a somewhat pretentious voice, what happened last night has already seriously affected my acting career. I hope that Director He will remember that for help Director He when she was young, she had to have Star Art clear her name. Only then could she wash herself clean. Otherwise, with her current situation, she might not even be able to act as the second female lead in Sutang. I know what you mean. Hee-chan put down the coffee in his hand and said, I will be holding a banquet at the V Hotel at 8 in the evening in 3 days. There will be many people in the industry there. As soon as his voice fell, Hee-chan turned to leave without turning back. 3 days later, on the 3rd of November, it was a certain person's real birthday. Bai Yi and Gu Fei-er would never know that the birth date on Luo Qingchen's ID was fake. Hee-chan could recognize Luo Qingchen not because of the birth date, but rather because he never forgot it. She went abroad. She came back. She went bankrupt. She had nowhere to go. He always knew her status. Even Star Arts, Hee-chan didn't need to add flowers to the brocade. Being quiet and not disturbing her was the thing that Hee-chan did the most in the past 10 years. He just turned all the thoughts in his heart into words on the tip of the brush, writing them down word by word. Although he didn't need to add flowers to the brocade, he had to send charcoal in the snow. Some people could be bad to him, but he had to be good to them forever. Because when he was at his most helpless, she had appeared in his life like a ray of light. That dazzling moment was so bright that he couldn't bear to blink. When Hee-chan came home, Luo Qingchen was already asleep. On the table were the longevity noodles and an egg that she had cooked for him, as well as a note written in elegant handwriting. The noodles might be a bit mushy, so just take a few bites and make do with it. Good night. Asterisk. She never would have known that a calm and steady person like Hee-chan would have red eyes at this moment. Sometimes, sweet words or expensive jewelry were not the only things that could move a person's heart. A small gesture might be enough to warm his entire winter. Hee-chan promised that no deception would fall on his wife in this life. He would shield her from the storm of blood and rain of blood. He actually felt that the bowl of cold longevity noodles was so delicious. One bite at a time, he ate it all. When Luo Qingchen woke up the next morning, Hee-chan was already out the door. On the table was a hot breakfast and a note. The moment Luo Qingchen saw the note, she couldn't help but laugh. She never thought that Hee-chan would do this kind of boring thing. In her eyes, Hee-chan would always solve things with words. He definitely wouldn't type. Chapter 841. Although Luo Qingchen didn't know what Hee-chan was busy with, she suddenly found that she was becoming more and more popular in the circle. There was the feeling of becoming famous overnight. To be honest, this feeling wasn't as good as she imagined, because she had to wear a mask when she went out. She clearly didn't have a Weibo, but there was a lot of discussion. Sister AI praised her in a very satisfied manner and had her open Weibo as soon as possible. She also had her post something positive to quickly increase her popularity. She thought about it and finally opened Weibo. But the first post wasn't anything positive. Rather, it was my brother Chung in society who doesn't talk much. Behind him is the Calabash brothers, leaving a legend in the Jianghu. After this post was sent, Sister AI's call came. Without waiting for the V certification, the words Calabash brothers were already on the hot search list. At the same time, there was another hot search. Let go of my grandfather. Luo Qingchun couldn't help trembling as she said with a self-deprecating laugh, "What is this?" After opening Weibo, her popularity was very high. Especially with that handsome opening, it attracted a lot of fangirls to confess to her. For a newcomer who had never shown his face to have such a sudden result, it was the dream of many. He naturally knew about this matter. All the employees of Parkway knew that she had been in a bad mood, but they never thought that not only would she not let them off, she would even hit the little sister at the front desk. What is wrong with this Bai? She isn't a first-class star. Why is she so arrogant? You don't even know this. She broke up with Yi Zhuchuan. Parkway's resources were all given to her before. Now that they've broken up, you know what will happen. She was just a second or third-class star, but now she doesn't have Yi Zhuchuan's protection. No wonder little sister exploded with just a few words. Yi Zhuchuan's office. Bai crossed her legs as she sat on the sofa. She had a woman's cigarette in her mouth, and the lighter in her hand was making the sounds. What is wrong with you? Do you think there hasn't been enough negative news lately? Yi Zhuchuan angrily threw a stack of documents on the table with his hands on his hips. Do you not even want to act in Su Tang! Ever since he wasn't obedient to Bai Yi Zhuchuan felt like his life had been reborn. Why did he let go of such a good Luo Qingchen and like this kind of despicable Bai Yi? It was as if he had swallowed his titanium dog eyes. Why are you so fierce? It's just a small receptionist. I hate it when people point fingers at me behind my back. Today, I gave her a slap because I was being polite to her. If my fans knew about it, maybe that little receptionist would be eaten. Bai Yi spat out a mouthful of smoke, her eyes filled with disdain. Do you really think you can make a comeback this time? Yi Zhuchuan looked at the manager standing beside her and said, Su Jia, you didn't tell her about her current job. What a pitiful amount. Sister Su was a very professional agent. Naturally, she had analyzed all the pros and cons to Bai Yi, but she didn't listen. As an agent, there was nothing she could do. Chapter 842. Yi Zhuchuan naturally thought that Bai Yi's words were a fantasy, but Bai Yi was very clear in her heart. She had a trump card, and that trump card was Gu Fei Air. You really don't know fear when you're about to die. Yi Zhuchuan gave a shrug as his voice suddenly became incomparably relaxed. Do whatever you want. If Su Tang cancels your contract because of your actions, you won't be able to stay in Parkway. Once this kind of thing reached a certain height, it wasn't something Yi Zhuchuan could control. Parkway had its own board of directors. Bai Yi's character was at the center of the storm. It didn't matter if she didn't have acting skills in the entertainment industry. She could still have a smooth life. But if she didn't have a good character, she would become a cancer, a hot potato, and no company would want her. What a joke. Bai Yi gave a cold snort as she said in a voice filled with disdain. You think I care about Parkway? This kind of small company, Bai Yi don't care about it. As soon as her voice fell, she walked out the door in her high heels. There was a large crowd outside the door, but Bai Yi ignored them as she walked out of the company with her head held high. Tonight was the 3-day agreement with He Chun. She would definitely be able to turn her around. At that time, none of these trash would dare to look down on her anymore. The filming of 10 Years went very smoothly. She and Ji Li Sheng were both good actors and had very few NGs. Even the director couldn't help praising them as a match made in heaven. You said that you wanted to be a couple with me back then, but now you're even more popular. When they finished, Ji Li Sheng didn't forget to tease her while changing. How about it? Have you been convinced by Big Brother's acting these past few days? Poochie. Luo Qingchun couldn't help laughing as she said, I feel that if I was a couple with someone like Yin Fan back then, I would have been very willing. Without knowing why, She felt that Yin Fan gave her a very familiar feeling, and it was a very strange kind of familiar feeling. Aya, my little heart has been hurt like this. Ji Shang pretended to be hurt as he said with a faint smile, "Don't you know? I've heard that Yin Fan was based on great god Jishui. This is his story. You are indeed my Prince Charming." Luo Qingqian blinked her eyes and said, "I feel that the characters he writes are really made of flesh and blood. There is no special hero saving the damsel in distress, no exaggerated face-slapping pretentiousness, and no pretentious love and hate parting. But it's a feeling that makes me want to keep watching." The next second, Ji Shang gave a thumbs up and said, "I'm convinced by this praise, but should be. After all, 10 years has surpassed too many romance novels. The sales volume determines everything." Ji Shang was actually very happy that he was able to play the male lead of 10 years. Of course, this was also thanks to the opportunity that Luo Qingqian gave him. So when Sister AI asked him to help her create a couple, he agreed without hesitation. In his eyes, it felt pretty good to be a couple with such a girl. Since there was no chance to create a CP, it didn't seem like a bad idea to create one. Ji Shang saw that Luo Qingqian had already packed her things and pretended to be calm as he casually asked, "Our scenes today are done early. How about we eat dinner together and discuss tomorrow's kissing scene?" Chapter 843. Actually, the most important reason was that she had an appointment tonight. He shouldn't have been busy for 3 days, finally had time to ask her out for a meal. Moreover, the place to eat seemed quite high class, the V Hotel. When Luo Qingqian got into the RX-7 in front of Ji Shang, he suddenly knew why he was rejected. Her relationship with Hechen wasn't normal. The busy director, he is finally done. Luo Qingqian gave a soft laugh. She pursed her lips and was in a good mood. Hechen was a bit surprised at that moment. He had ignored her for 3 days, but she didn't seem unhappy because of him at all. Without knowing why, he was a bit regretful at that moment. Even if he was busy, he shouldn't have left her alone for 3 days. He softly replied, "I won't do it again. It's fine." Luo Qingqian said with a smile, "Don't the books say that you're responsible for earning money, and I'm responsible for being as beautiful as a flower?" Ding, affection has increased by 10. Mission completion rate is now 70%. Hey, what did she say? He actually heard the system prompt that he hadn't heard in a long time. It was a bit strange, but she didn't know that there was only one feeling in Hechen's heart right now. That was warmth. There was a time when he had fantasized about their married life after marrying her. She would wait for him at home, and he would help her make dinner. A simple Western meal and a good bottle of red wine. On the weekends, he could drive her to the beach and experience the feeling of walking barefoot on the beach. If she liked to see him, he didn't need to go to the company since he had money. But this was all in his imagination. When she appeared in Star Art without hesitation, when she leaked Star Art's internal information to Yi Chuan again and again, he knew that his imagination would never come true. It wasn't because he couldn't wait, but because he knew that she wouldn't turn back. But now, ensure I won't do it again. Hechan raised his right hand to gently pat her head. "We're here." Luo Qingqian looked up at the people gathered outside the door. Hechan took her hand and walked forward. She was surprised before saying in a scared voice, "Wouldn't this be bad for Star Art?" "I won't," Hechan said with a soft laugh. "It's very normal for a boss to celebrate a famous actress' birthday in the circle." Hechan revealed an elegant smile to the camera. Luo Qingqian quickly pulled out of his warm palm and took his arm, because holding hands was something that every female partner could do. But if it was holding hands, they must be a couple. The eyes of the netizens were very sharp. Moreover, she was the first female lead of 10 years, and she had been on the hot search list recently, so she had to be careful with her words and actions in front of the camera. She didn't care, but she didn't want to affect Hechun because of her. "But wait a minute. What did you just say?" Luo Qingqian took his hand and walked 2 steps before she reacted. She looked at him sideways and said, "Birthday? You mean my birthday?" "Unhumph," Hechin said with a soft laugh. "Otherwise, how do you know my birthday?" Luo Qingqian looked at Hechin in surprise. "Why can't I know?" Hee-chan gave a soft laugh as a deep glow appeared in his eyes. Without knowing why, he suddenly liked this feeling very much. Chapter 844. Other than her family, no one else knew her birthday, because her parents had changed her birth date when she was in kindergarten because of the registration. But this matter, it was impossible for anyone to know. I know. Hee-chan gave a slight nod. Don't ask yet, you'll know soon. In the V Hotel's luxurious banquet hall, there were easels on both sides. Each easel was covered in red cloth, and no one knew what was inside. There were 5 on each side, a total of 10 easels. There weren't any reporters here. They were all good friends in the industry. But this Star Art V Hotel's luxurious banquet naturally attracted the attention of the outside world. After all, E had already posted on Weibo 2 hours ago. Those people who only look at the surface, I will let you know tonight who is the real beast in human face. Most of the comments on Weibo were against her. After all, with her previous record, her image had already collapsed. Of course, there were a few people who supported her and a few people who were looking forward to it. When Luo Qingxian walked into the banquet hall with Hee-chan's hand, E and Gu Fei were already there. They were sitting in the corner, being pointed at by everyone. Luo Qingxian knit her brows, not understanding the high IQ president Hee-chan's thoughts at that moment. But she knew that this definitely wasn't a simple birthday party. The whispers around them became louder when Hee-chan and Luo Qingxian appeared, almost all of them targeting E. To be reasonable, it sounded quite good. What is with this E? She came uninvited. Who knows? She belongs to the group with no acting skills in the entertainment industry. With this matter this time, her image has completely collapsed. That's right. Then what did she come here for today? To clear her name. This matter is already very clear. Unless director He or Great God Shui is on her side, she can't turn this around. Otherwise, with the video, how can she turn this around? He knit her brows, feeling a bit dissatisfied. She thought that this was a private party, but she never thought that there would be so many people in the industry. What did Hee-chan want to do? Looking at Luo Qingxian's high and mighty appearance, E felt an inexplicable atmosphere in her heart. This kind of good man was actually bewitched by a woman that Yi Zuochuan didn't want. Thinking back to that year, the scene of her begging her to treat Yi Zuochuan better was still vivid in her mind. But now, it was as if the tables had turned. No, she couldn't think like that. She still had a trump card, Gu Fei. Since Hee-chan invited them to today's banquet, it must be because he wanted to say something to Gu Fei. Or perhaps it was just the beginning to tell everyone about Gu Fei's identity. Everything had yet to be concluded. Sister E, why do I feel so flustered? Gu Fei clenched her hands awkwardly and said, Why don't we go back? She was not some rich young lady who had returned from abroad. She was just a child from an ordinary family. Her mother was a nurse at Rinqing Hospital, and her father was a driver for the Bai family. Bai Yi had heard from Gu Fei how outstanding her male god was now, so she followed the vine to find out that the person she was talking about was Hee-chan. After that, she thought of the things Hee-chan mentioned in the magazine interview. Chapter 845. 10 years had passed, and the little girl who gave Hee-chan 50,000 could be Luo Qingxian, but it could also be Gu Fei. The two of them had been there when it happened, but the only difference was that Gu Fei remembered everything and Luo Qingxian didn't remember. No one was certain who it was, but as long as she made a fake identity for Gu Fei, everything would be perfect. What are you afraid of? Isn't Hee-chan your male god? What did you say to me back then? As long as you could approach him, you were willing to do anything. Haven't I already helped you? He violently grabbed her hand and said through gritted teeth, You mustn't drop the chain at this crucial moment. But Gu Fei pursed her lips in an awkward manner. The person standing beside him is the one from 10 years ago. She didn't remember the appearance of the girl with the black card, but she remembered those clear eyes. But what? E angrily roared out. You're the girl with the black card. You're the one who saved Hee-chan's mother's life. I spent that much money to create an identity for you. It's impossible for Hee-chan to find this identity. Why did she find someone who was afraid of death, like Gu Fei? This was a good chance to approach He-chun and replace Luo Qingchun, who didn't know anything. How perfect! He-chun only looked at Bai Yi before heading to the stage of the banquet hall. He let go of Luo Qingchun's hand at the front table and said in a gentle voice, "Eat your fill first. There's a surprise." A surprise. Luo Qingchun was surprised as a faint sparkle appeared in her eyes. He-chun's surprise must be completely different from her surprise. He gave a slight nod and stood on the stage. He picked up the microphone and instantly became the center of attention. Linda, standing beside her, crossed her arms as a mocking look appeared in her eyes. The reason why Linda was a bit doubtful when she received the information was because Gu Feier had clearly explained what happened back then. She even doubted that He-chun had made a mistake, but she quickly learned that He-chun was much more terrifying than she imagined. "Hello everyone, I am Star Arts President, He-chun." This simple self-introduction attracted applause from the crowd. "Thank you everyone for giving me face to come to this birthday party." He paused before looking at Bai Yi and continuing, "My wife's birthday party." Hiss! At this moment, everyone present sucked in a breath of cold air. Naturally, this included Luo Qingchun. She never thought that the thing she was afraid of being exposed would be so easily mentioned by He-chun. At that moment, she didn't see any hesitation on his face. "What is this situation? Is Director He married? I think I heard some gossip before that Mr. He got married and then divorced." Sure enough, that can only be called a rumor. This accuracy is too unreliable. It said it really isn't reliable. Then I heard said, "Come on, you wake up." Just how trashy was the person who told you the news? You use you without any standards. At the same time, Bai Yi and Gu Feier's faces were filled with shock. Today was November 3rd. It wasn't December 8th. Chapter 846. Coco. He-chun didn't seem to care about these rumors as he continued. "I've known my wife for 10 years, but she shouldn't be too clear." Luo Qingchun narrowed her eyes as bits and pieces flashed in them. The sunlight outside the window, the clean youth, and the helpless eyes. She finally knew why He-chun was so accommodating to the previous host in the beginning. It turned out that everything had been predestined since they had met long ago. After that, the red cloths on the easels on both sides of the banquet hall were lifted by the waitress beside her. All the paintings appeared in front of her eyes, and each painting was of the same girl. Although it was a manga style, it was easy to recognize who was in the painting. From a cute girl with 2 ponytails, she had become a beautiful girl with slightly curly hair. Each painting was dated in November, whether it was early or late, but it never went past November. Every year, during the month of her birthday, I would wait near her house, wanting to draw her at that time. Actually, I wanted to draw her on her birthday every year, but I found that sometimes I wouldn't see her for several days. Luo Qingchun's eyes opened wide, and her right hand couldn't help covering her mouth. Her teary eyes looked over each painting. From home to abroad, He-chun had never stopped. Actually, the hardest thing was when she was 16, she went to America. He-chun paused before saying, "It was a good thing that I had some achievements at that time, so I knew which school she was going to through my connections. Otherwise, I really would have missed it." After that, Luo Qingchun's eyes fell onto the year she went to America. She was wearing a British-style school uniform, standing on the path covered in red maple leaves. She was carrying a coffee-colored bag and holding 2 or 3 textbooks in her hands. Her mind suddenly went back to the year she was 16. That was her favorite bag. The first day she went to school in America, she had it on her back. Although the bag was no longer there, she could still remember it clearly when she saw the portrait. So as long as she turned, she would see the most important person in her life. But this was also good. She missed it for a better meeting next time. He-chun said a lot of things, and Luo Qingchun just looked at him in a daze. The eyes of many people sitting down couldn't help turning red. He-chun used 10 years to repay a favor, watching from afar. "I want to tell everyone here that I didn't find her based on a birthday or a feeling." He gave a cold snort, and his gentle eyes instantly turned cold. His gaze fell onto Bai Yi as he said, "Rather, I have been by her side for the past 10 years. No matter how difficult it was in the early stages of entrepreneurship, no matter how tempting it was in the middle stages, and no matter how many matches there were in the later stages, I never missed her November. In their eyes, Hee-chun was a person of few words. However, what he said today was probably more than what he had said in an entire month. And the only person who could make him talk so much was probably the Mrs. He mentioned. At this moment, Bai Yi's face was incomparably pale, and Gu Fei-er's lips were trembling in fear. They thought that they had been slapped in the face by Hee-chun, not leaving any face at all. Chapter 847. She didn't sleep all night, and her heart couldn't calm down for a long time. She vaguely remembered Bai Yi running out of the banquet hall in a panic, and remembered Hee-chun's watery eyes on stage. So the one who had forgotten her memories had always been herself. So Hee-chun had never been absent from her life. At 3:40 in the morning, after she searched for her personal items for an hour, she knocked on Hee-chun's door. He wasn't asleep yet. He was sitting in front of the computer. It seemed like he was typing something as his fingers flew across the keyboard. "You're not asleep yet." Seeing her come in her pajamas and slippers, Hee-chun stopped what he was doing and his brows trembled. Luo Qingshun was holding a large teddy bear as she sat on the sofa in front of Hee-chun. She looked at him and asked, "You're not asleep either." "I'm taking care of some documents." He closed the laptop in his hand and turned up the temperature of the air conditioner. He looked at her and said, "What? Are you still worried?" After coming back last night, she had become a problem child from time to time and didn't say a word from time to time. The announcement seemed to have affected her greatly, but what he wanted to do was to get rid of all the obstacles in her way once and for all. But he was indeed the most active one. A woman who could find Gu Fei-er and knew the details of the past was too dangerous. Although the current Luo Qingshun was smart enough in his eyes, he wasn't willing to let someone harm her at the beginning of the complicated entertainment industry. It could be considered a kind of protection or a kind of prevention. "That's not it." Luo Qingshun pursed her lips into a smile and said, "That. I've been a bit tight on money lately. When will you pay me back the 100,000? He was a bit surprised as a faint sparkle appeared in his eyes. He looked at her for a full 10 seconds before saying, "All right, but you have to bring some accessories." You also have accessories, so do I." Luo Qingshun looked over and said with a faint smile, You first, you first." Hee-chun opened the drawer on his right and took out a delicate box and an unopened envelope. His eyes were filled with gentleness as he stood up and walked towards Luo Qingshun's sofa. The moment she saw the box, her heart skipped a beat. It was an exquisite square box, and the only thing that could possibly be contained inside was a ring. I want to look at the envelope first." She blushed a little embarrassedly. She hugged Big Bear with one hand and reached for the box in his hand with the other. When he opened it, he found that it was a brand new secondary card. "The first black card in my life was from the same bank as yours." He gently patted her head and said, "At that time, when they asked me if I wanted a supplementary card, I agreed without even thinking." Hee-chun was very clear at that time that this card might never find its owner. But he still had a glimmer of hope in the deepest part of his heart. He didn't expect that the Luo family would encounter a financial crisis, which gave him the opportunity to help. "All right." Luo Qingshun put the card in her pocket before taking out a small bag from her pocket. She looked at Hee-chun and said, "Gifts come and go. I'll give it back to you." Hee-chun was a bit surprised, but he slowly took the small bag. The moment he opened the bag, his body trembled. There was a brand new button inside. This was the button she asked him for in the past. Chapter 848. His warm palm gently grabbed her hand, and in the next second, he suddenly pulled her in his direction. The little bear and her fell into Hee-chun's arms at the same time, being firmly held by him. "The thing I don't need the most in my life is for you to say sorry." His hands slowly tightened, and he didn't forget to pat her little head. "In my eyes, Luo Qingshun will always be the best girl in the world." His voice was very gentle as it sounded in her ears, melting her heart. After a while, he softly let her go. He opened the square box and slowly put it on her ring finger. "I should be the one to propose. When 10 years finishes filming, we'll have a wedding." Her red eyes had a faint smile as she pursed her lips and said, "All right, I'll listen to you." Ding! Affection has increased by 10. Mission completion rate is now 80%. That night, she squeezed into his room, and he could only sleep on the sofa. But in He-Chin's world, this night was much warmer than any other night in his life. The filming of 10 Years went very smoothly. The rumors of Luo Qingchen being He-Chin's wife had been on the hot search list for an entire week. The attention of 10 Years was very high, completely crushing Su Tang. Although Luo Qingchen disdained using this method to create hype, she didn't reject it, because she wanted He-Chin to know that she was willing to tell the world that she was his wife and wouldn't hide it for Yizhua Chuan. She just wanted him to feel at ease, completely at ease. This was because the previous He-Chin didn't have a sense of security. Ji Lisheng often teased her after knowing about this, but the way he looked at her was different from before. There was less of an unknown exploration and more of a friend's appreciation. Ji Lisheng was a very smart person. He knew that he had met a special person, but he also knew that this person would never be anything other than friends. He would have to give up sooner or later. Then it was better to give up now. Friends, it sounded a bit funny, but it was the best excuse for his pride. Do you know? That Bai Yi was kicked out by the Su Tang crew. Ji Lisheng narrowed his eyes and said, "It's said that Weibo has been taken over by the Melon Eaters, and all of Parkway has been affected." What a pity! Luo Qingchen shrugged and asked, "Isn't there still Bei Chun and I? I heard that you were caught drinking too much at a bar last night." Ji Lisheng's eyes flashed with a faint light as he said, "Actually, this kind of thing is very common in this circle, but to be photographed like this, you must have offended someone you shouldn't have offended." Her brows slightly moved as she naturally understood the meaning behind Ji Lisheng's words. A person like her must have offended a lot of people. Luo Qingchen yawned and changed the topic. The kissing scene was postponed because of the venue. That scene was moved to this afternoon? Yes. Ji Lisheng softly nodded and the corner of his mouth rose. Didn't you say that things like kissing scenes are just like a cabinet? What? Are you suddenly nervous? Nervous your head. Luo Qingchen pursed her lips and said, "I won't be eating lunch with you guys. I'm going out to eat." As soon as her voice fell, she packed her things and ran off in the direction of Star Art. Chapter 849. Star Art wasn't far from the set, but He-Chin never picked up her call. Linda told her that He-Chin was entertaining an important person, Mr. Smith and his daughter at the Western Cold Restaurant. "Got it," Luo Qingchen said with a nod. "Then I'll wait for him here." Linda gave a soft laugh and gave her the information on Mr. Smith. "Miss Luo can look over this person's information before deciding if you want to wait or go find director He." Luo Qingchen knit her brows. Seeing Linda's expression, she felt that there was a problem. After looking over the information, she thought Linda really was He-Chin's assistant. An assistant who understood her boss like this. It was no wonder she worked for He-Chin, who wanted everything to be perfect. According to the information, Mr. Smith was an overseas Chinese and his daughter was 18 this year. On one hand, he wanted to cooperate with a large film and television company, and on the other hand, he wanted his daughter to officially debut in the country. Of course, the last reason was that his daughter had seen He-Chin in a foreign magazine and had always wanted to see him. Mr. Smith loved his daughter very much, so naturally he wouldn't reject this reasonable request. The Western Cold Restaurant was downstairs. It was a very unique and elegant restaurant. The Luo Group's businesses were able to continue operating because of He-Chin's help through the financial crisis. Luo Qingchen put on a pair of sunglasses and put on nude makeup. She changed her noise coat into a casual light-colored sweater and a coffee-colored pleated skirt. When she came in, she was stopped by the waiter at the door. "Miss, do you have an appointment?" His tone was very friendly, but his expression was very disdainful. Whether it was working or eating here, it was the symbol of a rich person. The person in front of him looked to be around 17 or 18. He naturally thought that she didn't have the ability to spend here. Luo Qingchen said with a nod. "Mr. He-Chin's table." She was too lazy to talk to him, so she took out the card that He-Chin gave her. "Just pay for me." The waiter was stunned as his expression changed 360 degrees. He quickly bent over and said, "All right, miss, please wait a minute." 10 seconds later, the waiter trotted to her side and handed her the receipt. "The total is 12,500 590 yuan. She glanced at the information on the ticket. VIP room 3. Miss, this way, please. I'll take you there. The waiter was still trying to flatter him, afraid that he would be complained about because of his attitude at the beginning. No need. Luo Qingxian waved her hand and said, but I have to remind you that you can't judge a book by its cover, but it's another thing to know how to read a person's body language. The waiter seemed to have only understood the meaning of her first sentence, but did not understand the meaning of her second sentence. He looked at her in a daze. Luo Qingxian shrugged and pointed to the person outside the door who was taking photos with a mobile phone. After all, 10 years had become popular before the broadcast. Even if she dressed in such a low-key manner, she would still be recognized by the audience. As soon as she finished speaking, she shrugged and ignored the confused waiter and walked towards the VIP room on the second floor. Whispers could be heard coming from behind her. The corners of her mouth curled up slightly, looking very imposing. Are you kidding? You don't know who she is? I don't pay attention to gossip as a man. Director, he's rumored new wife. The Shilong Group is a subsidiary of the Luo Group. You're taking money from her. Chapter 850. In the VIP room, Michelle was wearing a famous brand coat with 5-carat diamond earrings. She had heavy makeup and strong perfume. Director, my daughter is normally quite proud and her eyes are on top of her head. This is my first time seeing her admire someone. Mr. Smith praised his daughter while carefully watching He-Chin's expression. But the calm He-Chin didn't have a single ripple on his face, so he couldn't see what he was thinking from his expression. The waitress came in and placed a hot soup on the table. She never thought that she would bump into Michelle, who was about to pour wine for He-Chin. The waitress moved the hot soup in her direction, but she couldn't stop the red wine from splashing all over Michelle. What is wrong with you? Don't you look where you're going? Michelle was very angry. She was wearing a custom-made dress from Milan Fashion Week. There was only one in the world, and it was worth over $1 million. So, sorry. The waitress' face was red from being burned, and there were beads of sweat on her forehead as her hands kept trembling. Is there any use in saying sorry? Call your manager over. Michelle looked at the waitress, who had been burned, with an arrogant look, not planning on calming down at all. She heard that the woman He-Chin liked was this kind, and it was a coincidence that she was this kind of person. Then wouldn't they be a match made in heaven? If He-Chin wasn't satisfied with her actions, he would have stopped her already. But he didn't. He just took a sip of the red wine as he looked at the door from time to time. Because 15 minutes ago, Linda had sent him a text message. Director, Miss Luo has killed her way over. Please check. All right, what are you doing? Mr. Smith's face didn't look good as he tried to smooth things over. Let's forget about it. It was an unintentional mistake. It was a pity that his precious daughter didn't accept this. Dad, how can we forget about it like this? You have to be responsible for this restaurant. This is my favorite piece of clothing. Michelle shook Mr. Smith's hand coquettishly and pouted her lips, looking very wronged. The waitress' face gradually turned pale, and there were more and more beads of sweat on her forehead. She was still holding the hot soup in her hand, afraid that it would splash someone else. I'm really, really sorry. Can you shut up? Did I allow you to speak? Michelle didn't let him off. You're such a clumsy person. Aren't you ruining the restaurant's reputation? Today, we've invited a big shot. Do you think we're going to treat commoners like you? Miss Xiao Fan brought the soup to the table first and didn't forget to remind you to move aside. You were the one who got up and bumped into her. How can you twist the truth like that? Another waitress, standing next to Xiao Fan, couldn't stand it anymore. She spoke with a slight accent and looked nervous, but not fearful. I think you also want to receive my lawyer's letter. Michelle sneered and angrily threw her coat that was stained with red wine on the chair. Mr. He is a very distinguished guest. Since you disturbed my guest today, I will definitely make you bankrupt. 1,500,000 was not a small amount. The moment Michelle said that, the waitress shut her mouth. Chapter 851. Luo Qingxian looked around before her eyes fell onto Xiao Fan. Her face was very pale. There wasn't a trace of blood at all. There was a large wet patch on her chest, and the burn was already red and swollen. You're the manager here? Michelle knit her brows and crossed her arms. This person dirted my $1.5 million worth of clothes. What do you think we should do? Luo Qingchen heard this and looked at the girl beside Xiao Fan. Call an ambulance. Her face is too bad right now. It's very likely she contracted sepsis from the burn. As soon as her voice fell, she quickly took the soup from Xiao Fan's hands and helped her sit down. Michelle saw this and angrily said, "What do you mean? You're protecting her." Hee hee. She gave a cold laugh as she looked at Michelle with an ice-cold aura. "It seems like I need to tell an ignorant person like you about the complications of being burned." "What? You're telling me about it? What kind of joke is this?" Michelle was clearly very dissatisfied with Luo Qingchen's words, so she said with a nod, "Get it clear. She dirted my clothes. She has to take responsibility. All right. So if she dies, you'll go to jail or even be executed. Do you know that?" Luo Qingchen narrowed her cold eyes. Burns make the skin's barrier to bacteria become weak. More serious patients will have their white blood cells and immune system weakened, so it's easy to get an infection. The infection can develop into sepsis and septic shock. Do you understand what I'm saying? Michelle was stunned. She never thought that reprimanding a waiter would have such serious consequences. But even like this, she couldn't lose her aura. She gritted her teeth and angrily said, "So what? She was the one who hit me. All right? What a joke. I wasn't the one who hit her. Are you blind?" Luo Qingchen pointed at the monitor in the upper right corner. Whether you're blind or not, the monitor should be the clearest. "You." Michelle's face turned red from Luo Qingchen's words. After all, this was in front of Yi-chun. It really was too embarrassing. No, she definitely couldn't lose her aura. She said this to herself before raising her head and sticking out her chest. "You're saying this to protect her? Are you certain you can take this responsibility?" A small manager actually dared to talk to her like this, and it was in front of her male god. She definitely couldn't take it. "Who told you that I'm the manager?" Luo Qingchen's eyes fell onto He-chen's eyes. He took a sip of his coffee as he was looking as if he was enjoying a good show, waiting for the final moment. "You're not the manager? Then who are you? What are you so arrogant for? You even have the nerve to instill some medical knowledge into me." Michelle looked at her clothes. She looked at her clothes, look at her clothes, look at your clothes, look at you. You're a university student's mind. Do you know the relationship between my father and the owner of this shop? Chun, Chun. His St. Luo Qingchen couldn't help curling her lips as she said, "Then I feel that my relationship with this store's owner is better than yours." As soon as her voice fell, Mr. Smith couldn't help speaking up for his daughter. This little girl shouldn't be so sure. Chapter 852. "You, what nonsense are you saying?" Mr. Smith suddenly became very irritable as he angrily roared. "You have to look at yourself before meddling in other people's business. There are some people that a commoner like you can't offend." "It seems like I accidentally revealed a secret," Luo Qingchen said with a soft laugh. "But you're too excited. I meant that I am his daughter." Michelle looked at Luo Qingchen with a bit of doubt before a shocked look appeared in her eyes. He-chan slowly stood up and walked to Luo Qingchen's side, taking her waist with a large hand. Then he looked at Mr. Smith and said, "I forgot to introduce you. This is my wife, Luo Qingchen." Luo Qingchen pursed her lips, and at that moment, her lips couldn't help curling into a faint smile. It was like being pampered in the palm of someone's hand, letting you be arrogant and cause trouble. When you're tired, there will be a pair of big, warm hands that will firmly protect you by your side. At that moment, the atmosphere in the VIP room became very awkward. Michelle's face turned black and white. She never would have thought that the girl who stood up for the waiter was He-chen's wife and the young miss of this restaurant. I. She pursed her lips and said, "Everyone move for me." As soon as her voice fell, she took her coat and prepared to leave. After all, the atmosphere was just too awkward. She had to leave immediately. "Wait." Luo Qingchen reached out to stop her. "It can't be that you think I'm joking with you, right? What do you want?" Michelle's eyes popped out, but she suppressed her anger as she said, "I admit that I suffered a loss. I'll just treat this coat as $1.5 million spent on a dog. Isn't that enough?" "Of course not," she immediately said. "A person's life is worth more than your $1.5 million. If anything happens to my staff, I will definitely make you pay the price. Even if you go through legal channels, you'll still have to stay in the detention center for 48 hours. I don't know if this rich young lady can take it. This, Mr. Smith looked at Hee-chan. This is a small matter, don't you think so, Director He? Hee-chan looked at Luo Qingshun and gently patted her head before turning to Smith. My wife thinks it's a small matter, so it's a small matter. If she thinks it's necessary to make it a big deal, then I also think it's a big deal. Mr. He, Mr. Smith clearly couldn't control his anger. He never thought that the calm and steady Hee-chan who cared about the big picture would say these words. What kind of background did this Luo Qingshun have? She could actually make Hee-chan marry her and act this arrogantly. Isn't it too late to come out and smooth things over at this time? Luo Qingshun said with a deep meaning in her eyes, let's go to the hospital together. When the ambulance arrived, Xiao Fan was already in a semi-conscious state. Because she had been working overtime for several days, her body was quite weak. The infection from the burns was very strong, and part of the infection had already reached her lungs. Michelle, who was originally insufferably arrogant, instantly lost her arrogance when she heard the doctor's notice of critical illness. Her face became extremely pale. Chapter 853. Dad, I didn't do it on purpose. Michelle was so anxious that her tears came out. Mr. Smith quickly comforted her. Don't be afraid. Don't be afraid. Isn't that person fine? There's an infection in her lungs. It means that the infection is very serious. Hee-chan had a deep glow in his eyes. Take care of yourself. Hee-chan's words clearly expressed the meaning he wanted to express. If Xiao Fan was dead or crippled, he and Luo Qingshun wouldn't let this go. The overbearing aura of a wife-pampering demon was fully displayed at this moment. 10 hours later, the doctor said that the patient was out of danger for now. She came back early. This news was brought to her by Linda. Hee-chan attached great importance to this matter and sent Linda to watch the hospital 24 hours a day when she wasn't working. With Hee-chan's instructions, Linda's words were filled with confidence. In the end, Mr. Smith and his daughter Michelle paid all of Xiao Fan's medical expenses, as well as her nutrition expenses, totaling 50,000 yuan. Xiao Fan had been promoted to manager by Luo Qingshun after this matter. That male manager who had looked down on her had been very narrow-minded and fired by her. Such a blind person. Was she keeping him to make dumplings for New Year's? After coming out of the hospital at noon, Luo Qingshun called out to Hee-chan, who was about to get his car. The very, very handsome Mr. He in front. Please stop. Luo Qingshun had her hands at her waist as she had a faint smile on her lips. The dazzling sun shined down on her white cheeks, making her look so beautiful. When Hee-chan turned around, Luo Qingshun smiled at him before rushing in his direction. Hee-chan was afraid that she would fall, so he firmly held her waist when she fell into his arms. His brows slightly knit as he said, "What is it?" Before his voice fell, his cool lips were kissed by her. It was a soft touch that was very light and very sweet. Hee-chan didn't come back to his senses at that moment, as he stood there in a daze. It was only when this soft and tender feeling was about to leave him that he turned the tables on her. Ding! Affection has increased by 10. Mission completion rate is now 80%. People came and went, and there was an endless stream of horse and carriages. At this moment, she was just like the female lead in a movie. She didn't care about how others looked at her. She only had eyes for the most important person. Actually, if you think about it carefully, why do people care about how others look at them? Do those people understand you? Most of them are just passers-by in your life. As long as you did what you wanted to do the most in front of the most important person, you wouldn't have any regrets. That was what Luo Qingshun was feeling right now. Mrs. He, why are you suddenly not shy? After a while, Hee-chan softly let her go with a pampering look in his eyes. This kind of Luo Qingshun was really beautiful. He would never get tired of looking at her. It was as if the more he looked at her, the better his mood would be for the entire afternoon. She scratched her head shyly and said, I have a kissing scene in the afternoon, but I want to save my first kiss for the most important person. Hearing the words kissing scene, his heart skipped a beat, and he didn't feel very happy. But hearing the words most important, he suddenly felt that no matter what she did, he could firmly stand behind her. Chapter 854. Actually, he didn't know that the truly lucky person should be Luo Qingchen. Becoming the wife of the male god, He Chun, becoming the most important person in his life. The filming of 10 Years continued. After the filming was over, Ji Li Sheng posted on Weibo, creating a new round of 10 Years topics. You are the best acting and best looking person I've ever worked with. Huh. I wonder if you'll be on the hot search list again. 10 minutes later, Luo Qingshan forwarded Ji Li Sheng's post and added, "Come, do it. There's plenty of time anyway. Oh, intersection_intersection. Oh." In less than an hour, the entire hot search list was taken over by Luo Qingshan. 1. Ji Li Sheng praises Luo Qingshan 2. Yin Fan Feng Cheng 3. 10 Years, released 01014. Su Tang, released 01015. 10 Years vs. Su Tang. This hot search was a bit special. Su Tang was also on the list. These two youth idol dramas were constantly compared since the beginning. Su Tang captured the point of puberty, the story of the tyrant blade school hunk falling in love with me. As for 10 Years, it was about waiting in silence. Zhe Shui's characters made people unable to not love them. Even Luo Qingshan felt like she was being carried by the scenes and wanted to keep acting. The difference between the two plots was that Su Tang was written by the original author Yu Yu and 10 Years wasn't written by Zhe Shui. Zhe Shui gave people the same feeling as in his novel, clean and mysterious. It was close to New Year's, and the movie was about to be released. Star Art was extremely busy preparing for the release of 10 Years, but before it was released, it was treated unfairly by the cinemas. Sorry. Although Star Art's movies are good at the box office each year, Su Tang stars in Ming and Bei Chun and I, first-class stars, so there will be more showtimes. Jean Hui Theater gave the most pertinent reason. After all, movies were based on attendance. Although 10 Years was very popular on Weibo, it couldn't compare to Su Tang in terms of want to see. The reason was very simple. The entertainment industry had its pros and cons. The newbie received such good resources because of the CEO of Star Art. Even if she had a certain number of fans now, she couldn't get rid of the gossip of the public. In comparison, Su Tang was much more stable. In the end, the showtimes for Su Tang were around 30% in all theaters, while 10 Years was only around 10%. 10% of the showtimes. He-Chun looked at the information in his hand and slightly knit his brows. Luo Qingshan leaned on the sofa, drinking waha and eating spicy strips. She had an indifferent look on her face. Pretty good. Luo Qingshan pursed her lips and said, "Mr. He, don't worry. You have to have faith in your Mrs. He." Linda, who was standing at the side, felt like she had just eaten a ton of dog food, but she still had to bite the bullet and agree. "Mr. He, what Miss Luo said isn't without reason. There are also many movies that are rescheduled based on word of mouth. Probability?" He-Chun narrowed his eyes and looked at Linda as he asked this. 3%. Linda said in an awkward voice, "We've already used our greatest sincerity to discuss this. If we keep wasting time, Star Art's value will drop." "Linda," He-Chan said with a frown, "you know that I don't care about this." He didn't care about word of mouth. He just wanted to give her the best resources since he knew how hard she worked. Chapter 855. At the last banquet at the end of the year, all the major film companies were gathered together, which naturally included the cast of Su Tang. In a corner, Bei Chun and I shook the red wine in her hand as she looked at the CEO of a theater and said, "Many thanks to CEO Chun for the showtimes. I also believe that Su Tang will give you a corresponding return." This time, 3 of the 4 major film companies in a city gave 10 Years 10% of the showtimes. Only Chin Fafa Film did not give 10 Years a tiny bit of showtimes, but gave Su Tang 50%. Of course, how can those unknown people compare to I? CEO Chin's hand couldn't help reaching towards Bei Chun's waist as a wretched look appeared in his eyes. Bei Chun and I didn't feel uncomfortable as she came forward and said, "That person acting in 10 Years is an unknown person. If it wasn't for her relationship with CEO, how could she be qualified to act in 10 Years? As long as she thought of how this trash treated her at Star Art, she would be angered to death. She wanted to tell this unknown person that just because she was on Weibo, it didn't mean that the audience wanted to see her movie. The audience wanted to see her popular face and the couple that kept spreading popularity within Ming. Didn't I get revenge for you this time? With such a low show times, 10 years definitely can't compare to Su Tang. Don't forget about me if you win the Film Empress this year. Chun Fa raised a brow at her, with a look of disdain in his eyes. Humph, you're still the best. Bei Chun-Ni's eyes trembled as she saw Luo Qingchun walking in with Yi Chen's arm. She said in a voice of disdain, if great God Shui, the author of 10 years, knew that the showtimes were so low because he chose Luo Qingchun as the female lead. No matter how I think about it, it would ruin Shui's reputation. When they came in, there were many bosses toasting to He-chun. He-chun just gave a slight nod and said, wait a minute. As soon as his voice fell, he pulled Luo Qingchun to the side. What's wrong? Luo Qingchun rolled her eyes and said, don't they know about our relationship? He-chun gently patted her head. There's no one in this circle who doesn't know our relationship. Then, there's no end to these people's toasts. 10 years is about to be released. I'm not going to decline like before. He-chun said this while pushing her to the massage chair in the hotel. Just wait here for me to come back. Hearing him say such words, her eyes were slightly stunned. He-chun was insufferably arrogant before. He wouldn't rely on anyone no matter what he did. However, this time, because of 10 years, he was going to be tainted by the secular world. She knew very well why. Warmth and emotion intertwined at this moment. She nodded obediently and said, yes, I'll wait for you to come back. From now on, no matter when, no matter where, she would wait for him to return. He-chun gave her a pampering smile and poured a cup of juice for her before heading in the direction of the crowd. She didn't know why, but she felt at ease when she looked at his back. AI, director, he escorted her the entire time to get the female lead position. I wonder if Shui will take back the copyright of 10 years if he finds out. Bei Chun and I sat beside her with her legs crossed, looking very aloof. Chapter 856. Luo Qingchun's cold eyes narrowed, and the corner of her mouth raised a very faint smile. Your hands are unconsciously moving forward, but your body is leaning back. In psychology, this is a sign of nervousness. What am I nervous about? Bei Chun-Ni's eyes were not focused, but she had to pretend to be calm. She looked at Luo Qingchun and said, no, don't be nervous. With your 10 years, it would be good if it could get a 10th of my box office. Bei Chun and I. Luo Qingchun sneered. Don't you know that people who have nothing are never afraid of falling to the bottom? Bei Chun and I heard this and was startled. Luo Qingchun's short sentence actually hit her heart. Now she was just a newcomer in the eyes of the public. Even if the box office of 10 years was not good, she could still blame it on the unfairness of the screening schedule, or at the same time as Su Tang. She had too many excuses to use, but Bei Chun and I didn't. A popular first-tier movie star, although she didn't have any acting skills, she had already filmed several films, and her popularity was there. This time, the screening schedule of Su Tang was so good, and there was also the old cadre and Ming as the male lead. All kinds of favorable resources were piled together. If the box office of Su Tang wasn't as good as expected, then Bei Chun and I and the entire crew of Su Tang would fall into public opinion. You also know that you have nothing. Bei Chun and I looked at Luo Qingchun with disdain and pretended to be calm. I don't believe that a person like you can act. So what if you have 10 years ? Her every word was filled with contempt. She couldn't panic, and she couldn't lose. She was Bei Chun and I. Now that Parkway no longer had by EE, she should be the most dazzling star. Huh? Luo Qingchun looked at her with a faint smile and coldly snorted. Bei Chun and I, it's 11:53 now. It's almost 12 o'clock. The box office will come out soon. Why are you pretending like this? You. Bei Chun gritted her teeth and said, I'm afraid you're the one who's panicking. Bei Chun, do you have a problem with your understanding? Or do you think everyone is like you? Luo Qingchun took a sip of the orange juice before lowering her voice to whisper in her ear, I won't lose. As soon as her voice fell, she slowly stood up and walked towards Yi-chun. Bei Chun and I, on the other hand, sat on the spot with her fists tightly clenched. Her face was somewhat pale. Luo Qingchen was always able to completely shatter the high wall she had built in her heart with just a few words. She, Bei Chunni, had never met any opponents, but this time, thinking of this, her heart was a little flustered. She picked up her phone and dialed in Ming's number. Hey, and Ming's tone sounded a little impatient. He was supposed to attend the banquet today, but the madam at home was a little suspicious of his recent whereabouts, so he didn't go. And Ming, are you asleep? I want to talk to you. Bei Chun and I frowned and lowered her voice. Can you come out and accompany me? Baby, I also want to come out and accompany you. But we've been too popular as a couple. My wife is a bit suspicious. And Ming said in an awkward voice, there's a movie promotion tomorrow. Won't we be able to see each other then? Bei Chun and I bit her lip. She looked at Luo Qingchen, standing beside. He Chun, and a bit of unwillingness flashed at her eyes. Chapter 857. She touched her belly and said, last time you said you wanted to divorce your wife. When are you going to divorce? Now many fans supported them to be a couple. Taking advantage of the fact that Su Tang was about to be released, if the two of them really gave out candies to the fans, maybe they could create a wave of momentum for the movie. My big miss, are you crazy? And Ming couldn't believe that Bei Chun and I would suddenly say this. He bit his lip and said, aren't you at the banquet? Keep your voice down. I'm pregnant. Bei Chun's eyes were cold and said, after tonight, we'll be the hottest couple. If you save it. And Ming coldly snorted and directly interrupted her words. Who knows who you're pregnant with? I've done so well every time. How can you be pregnant? Also, my image is an old cadre. I need to show my loyalty to my wife. I won't divorce. And Ming, Bei Chun and I firmly bit her lip and said, that's not what you said in bed. Are you burning the bridge after crossing the river? Bei Chun and I had long known that Ming's reputation in the circle wasn't very good. But because of his image in the outside world, he had always been a good man who cared about his family. A lot of kissing and bed scenes during the shooting made her a little unable to control her yearning for Ming. He promised her that he would divorce. But now, I'm burning the bridge after crossing the river. Please, big sister, is there a lack of one-night stands in this circle? And Ming's tone was a little impatient and seemed to be teasing. You can't really fall in love with me, right? For women like Bei Chun and I, in Ming's world, there were a lot of them, but he didn't like them. In Ming's world, fame and fortune were far more important than anything else. Because of this, even if he didn't like his wife, he still took her to various banquets. Because only such a good man, the image of an old cadre, could be deeply ingrained in the hearts of the fans. As for his private life, that was his own business. This time, he found that the disadvantages of being a couple with Bei Chun and I outweighed the advantages. For his character, it wasn't suitable to be a couple. And Ming, you cheat man. Bei Chun and I pursed her lips and said, with this kind of acting, you really think you're an old cadre. What a joke. Remember this, it's me, Bei Chun and I, who doesn't care about you. After tonight, my career will rise to the next level. And you? Just you wait. As soon as she finished speaking, she abruptly hung up the phone and left the banquet hall angrily. Just when everyone thought that Su Tang would crush 10 years in terms of screenings and actors, 10 years made a perfect comeback in just one night. Perhaps it was because of the limited number of screenings, the attendance rate of 10 years was almost 100%. Everyone who walked out of the cinema could not forget this movie, especially those couples who were waiting in a different place. There's a saying that was particularly good. 10 years of love, 9 years of being in a different place, 1057 train tickets. I'm most afraid of hearing you say that you give up. Early in the morning the next day, Star Art's phone exploded. The first to call was Chun FA Pictures. After all, they were the only cinema that didn't import 10 years. Can you get Mr. He to answer my call? We could discuss the price. Chun FA didn't listen and explained to Linda that before, he was completely influenced by Bei Chun and I, which was why he did such a stupid thing. This was a lesson for himself. In the future, Star Art screenings would definitely exceed 50%. Chapter 858. After all, in He Chen's heart, his wife's movie definitely wasn't allowed to take a step back. In less than 3 days, the showtimes for 10 years went from 10% to 30%, while the showtimes for Su Tang dropped to 10%. The hot search list kept changing, and it was mostly related to 10 years. 1. A tribute to 10 years 2. The only movie that cried from beginning to end 3. Je suis. This time there wasn't Feng Cheng or Luo Qingchen on the hot search list. Everyone seemed to have jumped out of this box. She only loved this movie. She only loved Je suis, who wrote this novel. There were some things that really changed. 10 years had completely crushed Su Tang. The score was 9. 3 versus 4. 2. The ladder kept falling. There were many fans of Su Tang who said that Bei Chun and I didn't act like Su Tang at all. Throughout the entire drama, all they saw was the Virgin Mary. Bei Chun's Weibo was filled with netizens overnight, and various unfair screenings were exposed one by one. The ones with the most likes were as follows. White Radish. I had high hopes for Su Tang at first, but after seeing it in the theater, my views have been ruined. I'm currently watching 10 years, 3 times. 9,999 likes. Spring Lily. I've heard that Su Tang only had 30% of the seats taken. It seems like people really don't like Mary Sue 1. It's annoying. 9,999 likes. Listening to the melody. The literary world only respects Great God, Je suis. I want to know what kind of person would write a novel like 10 years. 9,999 likes. He Chen's methods of dealing with things were very powerful. 7 days after Su Tang was released, there was a lot of negative news about Ming. Naturally, it also included the fishy relationship between him and Bei Chun and I. Ming's image directly collapsed, and Bei Chun and I was crowned as a mistress. Although they kept saying that this was all false, there was no wall that didn't have a crack in this world. Things like evidence. If someone really wanted to make you unable to make a comeback, you didn't need too much. 10 days later, Su Tang was forced to be taken off the shelves due to the unsatisfactory box office due to the pressure of public opinion. Director He Chun Fafa Theater called us again. They want to buy the rights to show 10 years at a high price and promise to show it for a month. Linda put the document on the table and said they've been calling for 10 days in a row. Even if he attacks for 100 days, we will always be enemies. He Chin slightly knit his brows. Thinking of his proud face before 10 years was released, his black-bellied heart began to rise. Linda said that although He Chun was calm before, he always put the company's benefits and money first. In He Chin's heart, there would always be one thing first. That was their Mrs. He, Luo Qingchen. The box office of 10 years went all the way, and its reputation soared. The showtimes in the major theaters kept increasing, and Luo Qingchen and Ji Lisheng became famous overnight. This kind of popularity was very different from when they were on hot searches. This time, they really were standing at a height that no one could reach. Even if 10 years was popular all year, this author who had been on the hot searches didn't show his face at all. It was like he had nothing to do with this glory, like he was a hidden expert. Chapter 859. He Chin was surprised. His eyes sparkled as he asked back, "You want to see him that much? Which person who likes 10 years doesn't want to see him?" Luo Qingchen said with his ED sound, "There are rumors on the internet that Je suis is an immortal who came to the mortal world to write a book for fun." Although it sounded very strange, she felt that it made sense. All right. He Chin was a bit surprised when he heard this, looking very helpless. "So have you seen him or not?" Luo Qingchen pursed her lips into a faint smile. He Chin thought about it before saying, "I should be considered seeing him." This was her first time hearing He Chin speak so ambiguously. Only on the day of the awards ceremony did she know why. It was November of another year. During this year, Luo Qingchen seemed to have disappeared from the film industry, not taking on a single movie. At first, the anti-fans kept saying that Luo Qingchen was going through the back door, but then they didn't have any words to attack her, because she had been traveling around the world with their Mr. He all year, even though she had already become a famous A-list movie star. Even if there were many high-paying movies contacting her, she rejected them all without any hesitation. It was just because she knew that their mister he didn't like her acting. Although he didn't say it, she knew. That man who paved the road for her, he was worthy of her retreating. The popularity of the movie, based on a novel last time, might not be worse than 10 years. They're sincerely inviting you. Are you really not going? Hee-chun held her hand as they walked on the beach where the sun was about to set. The sea breeze blew, bringing with it a refreshing scent. I feel that there is no novel in this world that can compare to 10 years! Luo Qingchun pursed her lips into a smile. In short, if there isn't a novel better than 10 years, as Hee-chun's wife, I shouldn't lower my status, don't you think? You really admire Shui that much? Hee-chun's eyes had a faint sparkle as he asked. Because he's mysterious? Not really. She thought for a moment and said, it's just a very strange feeling. I feel like it's fate to be able to act in his novel. Hee-chun didn't reply. He just silently looked at her, and his lips curled into a faint smile. It was a very, very warm smile. 3 days later at the Realiska Film Festival. 10 Years was nominated for a total of 8 awards and became the hottest movie of the year. The total profit of the film exceeded $3 billion. It became the benchmark of youth films. The so-called Su Tang ended with a profit of $21 million. The difference between the two was so big that everyone completely forgot that there was a movie called Su Tang during the Realiska Film Festival. Feng Chung, played by Luo Qingchun, was nominated for the Best Newcomer and Best Actress at the same time. The latter was the so-called movie queen of the Realiska Film Festival. Hee-chun sat beside her, and when the camera fell onto them, there were cheers from the crowd. After 10 Years became popular, the fans didn't side with the male and female lead couple like before. Rather, they strangely envied Luo Qingchun for having Hee-chun in her life. If there wasn't such a person, then there wouldn't be such a realistic Feng Chung. Chapter 860. Looking at the camera, Luo Qingchun tilted her head in embarrassment. Hee-chun saw this and softly patted her little head. Such a small action, however, became the #1 trending topic half an hour later. Although the Realiska Film Queen was Luo Qingchun's side mission, with Hee-chun by her side, she didn't feel nervous at all. The host spoke intensely on stage as the 4 figures moved on the screen. Bai Yi and Bei Chun and I, who thought they could step on her, didn't even have the qualifications to be a candidate. How ironic. Other than her acting skills, there was also Hee-chun's protection. Hard work was a necessary standard for success, but hard work didn't guarantee success in life. If it wasn't for Hee-chun, she would have taken many detours. Are you nervous? He tightly held her hand as a faint sparkle appeared in his eyes. She shook her head and said, I'm not afraid with you here. Her voice was very soft, but it was filled with warm words of love. Ding! Affection has increased by 10. Mission completion rate is now 90%. If it wasn't for the system's notification, Luo Qingchun would have forgotten that there was something like affection between her and Hee-chun. She always felt that she was a little princess in the palm of his hand, but this pampering hadn't reached a bottleneck in his heart yet. Thinking about it, she was quite happy. Congratulations to the female lead of 10 Years, Luo Qingchun, for winning the Realiska Film Queen Award. The screen froze on Luo Qingchun's face as she revealed an elegant smile. The spotlight shone on her as she lifted her skirt and walked onto the stage. The movie 10 Years has created too many miracles, and Feng Chung in it has created our Qingchun. The host gave her the trophy. I believe that you must have many things to say right now. Luo Qingchun gave a soft laugh and took the trophy. Her smile was the same as before, but there wasn't any fake excitement. I'm very happy that my hard work has been recognized. She looked at Hee-chun on stage and said, I only have 2 people to thank. One is my husband Hee-chun, and the other is the author of 10 Years, Shui. The MC was obviously stunned. Most of the time, those who won the Best Actress award would thank the director, the crew, and so on. This was the first time he realized that someone was speaking the truth. His words were so natural and smooth. There was no arrogance or pretentiousness. Haha, well said. The host continued, There's a very small question here. Before winning this award, How likely does Ching Chun think she is to win the Film Empress Award? Hiss! The entire audience gasped. The film festival was also meant to be trending and eye-catching. This question was indeed a little sharp. Little did he know that in the next second, Luo Qingchun chuckled and said, 100%. After 3 seconds of silence, He-chun was the first to clap before waves of applause followed. She said with a sweet smile, make the best preparations, perform the best work, bring the best confidence, and wait for the best gift. This was her closing words at the Rualiska Film Festival, becoming the benchmark for newcomers for a long time. Of course, after the film festival, there was a popular phrase in the entertainment circle. Chapter 861. Luo Qingchun had guessed that she would be on the hot searches again after being silent for a while, but she never thought that it would be because of Joshua. The reason was that there were people in the entertainment circle who spread rumors that she had something with Joshua, so she could take the female lead of 10 years. It wasn't all because of He-chun. In less than half an hour after the Rualiska Film Festival ended, several big Vs on Weibo reposted this without any evidence. Luo Qingchun, who had just won the Film Empress Award, was pushed to the center of the storm, and even He-chun was on the hot searches with her. 1. Joshua is the third party. 2. He-chun. Of course I choose to forgive her. 3. Luo Qingchun, He-chun, Joshua. Sister AI was very quick at dealing with the public relations crisis. She immediately sent out a warning and said that it was all false, so this matter had to be dealt with legally. At this time, Luo Qingchun was sitting in He-chun's car. She pursed her lips as she looked at him and said, I don't know that Joshua. Although she usually said that Joshua was her Prince Charming, she expressed that she really hadn't seen that otherworldly expert who transcended the tribulation. Okay? You can't accuse someone like this. Ding! Affection has increased by 10. Mission completion rate is now 100%. What was this situation? What was with this sudden increase in affection? She had been a bit anxious just a second ago, but now this sudden change made her a bit confused. What is wrong with you? She pursed her lips. Looking at He-chun's calm face, she couldn't see anything wrong at all, although she knew that he must be very happy. But why was he happy? She still didn't understand. This kind of situation of being cuckolded by the entire circle. Why did he give her affection? Actually, He-chun just didn't expect it. With such a big thing happening, Luo Qingchun didn't think about her situation first, and she never thought that the one hurt by these rumors was her. She never thought that she would be facing a complete collapse in the entertainment industry. What she thought at that moment was, would he be angry? From the past to the present, from the present to the future. This was his first time feeling that in Mrs. He's heart, his position was this important. I am happy. He-chun's brows slightly moved as he stopped the car on the side. He softly said, thank you. What are you thanking me for? Luo Qingchun blinked and blinked again. She still didn't understand what He-chun was thinking at this moment. If it wasn't for the system's prompt, she would have felt that He-chun's words were taunting her. She saw He-chun took his phone and didn't respond. She anxiously said, I don't know that Joshua. You do. He-chun's fingers quickly typed on his phone as his lips curled into a faint smile. She was slightly stunned. At this moment, an extremely terrifying possibility actually surged in her mind. Seeing He-chun, who didn't have a Weibo before skillfully logging in with a smile of complete trust, she couldn't help but be stunned. She seemed to have confirmed her terrifying thoughts. She quickly took out her phone and opened Weibo. 10 seconds ago, Joshua, who was rumored to be in the mortal world, had sent a Weibo that shocked the entire circle. Mrs. He, I love you. He-chun / Joshua. Chapter 862. When the culprit Bei Chun and I saw this post, she fainted from anger. All the hot searches froze at that moment. To watch this shocking reversal, one's heart had to be strong enough. He-chun. Luo Qingchun awkwardly pursed her lips. Why didn't you say so earlier? She was a bit incoherent no matter what she said. He-chun had a happy smile on the side as his warm hand touched her head. Because you were jealous of Joshua. What? Who told Miss Izzy to keep talking about male god Joshua? Male god Joshua. He-chun took out a manuscript 10 years from the drawer in the car and gave it to her. Do you know? You were Feng Chung to begin with. Her fingers trembled as she slowly took He Chen's manuscript. Not only did it have his beautiful handwriting, it also had his simple drawings. Although it was a simple drawing, she could easily tell that He Chen was drawing her. So Yin Fan. She pursed her lips. Her heart skipped a beat, and her eyes couldn't help becoming wet. It's me. He gave a soft nod, not forgetting to look at Weibo. In less than 3 minutes, there were already over 8,000 comments. The hot searches were all taken down, and they all became 1. J'ai Shui 10 years, 2. He Chen equals J'ai Shui 3. Bei Chun and I fainted and was sent to the hospital for her evil deeds. When the third hot search came out, Luo Qingshan knew that Sister AI must have found out who the culprit was. Sister AI immediately forwarded Zhe Shui's Weibo and added, "My heart aches for my Qing Qing. She must be stunned right now." He Chen didn't forget to leave a comment under Zhe Shui's account. "Your guess is very accurate. So, if it wasn't for this matter, you wouldn't have said that you were Zhe Shui?" She suddenly thought of the sense of familiarity. Why did she feel 10 years was so familiar? It was because Yin Fan's personality was too similar to He Chen's. Even Ji Li Sheng said that when he acted as Yin Fan, he always felt like Director He. Now she knew that Yin Fan didn't think of He Chen, but rather was He Chen. "Yes, I was planning on asking Big Sister AI if I could be the male lead in my next book." He Chen revealed a gentle smile as his deep and beautiful eyes looked even more charming at this moment. "Poochie," she chuckled and said, "I think the two of us will anger Sister AI to death." He Chen looked at his phone, and there were over 20 missed calls from Sister AI. The next second, he started the car and nodded. "I think so too." When the entire world knew that Zhe Shui was He Chen, Zhe Shui's Weibo had over 10 million fans. He was even more popular than Luo Qingshan when he went out. No matter where he went, he had to wear a mask. He didn't even go to Star Art often. Even the airport wasn't a place that He Chen could stay. He was practically on par with the popular youngsters. Big Sister AI said that 10 years did very well at the box office overseas, so she wanted me and Ji Li Sheng to go over. Luo Qingshan pursed her lips and said, "The damn thing is that Ji Li Sheng went over without waiting for me. Be careful on the way. Call me when you arrive." He Chen still wasn't used to the gazes around him, but he didn't trust others sending her to the airport. I'm going through security. Remember to run faster later." The corners of her mouth rose, revealing a sweet smile. He Chen never would have thought that this unexpected change would come so quickly. In the first-class cabin of the plane, Luo Qingshan was taking a nap with her eyes closed. Chapter 863. Ding! 500 exchange points has been taken. Successfully exchanged for teleportation. Can only be used once. Dash. Next is urgent news. Flight AC 891 to Sea City has lost contact half an hour ago. The aviation department is urgently trying to contact them, and we will be paying attention to the follow-up news. He Chen, who was standing in the kitchen making cranberry biscuits, was suddenly stunned. When they parted at the airport this morning, she said that she wanted to eat it when she came back tomorrow, so he wanted to make it ahead of time. 10 seconds later, he ran out the door as fast as he could and headed towards the airport. On the way, his mind was blank as he felt the car drifting down the street. Once he got on the highway, he didn't slow down at all. It was like as long as he stepped on the accelerator and maintained his speed, he could freeze time and go back to when he sent her off in the morning, until there was a low voice that came from the broadcast. Breaking the news, Flight AC 891 has been confirmed to have crashed in Bonia, and the black box has been found. The scene is a mess, and there are no survivors. See, there was a long breaking sound, and it was like the world had stopped. He could hear his heart beating fast. Pung, 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 beating fast again and again. His phone kept ringing in his ears, but he didn't care at all. He stepped on the accelerator and headed towards the airport. This seemed like a journey that wouldn't have any results, but he had to go. 3 hours later, the officials confirmed the crash. At the scene, there were no survivors. Everyone knew that planes were the safest means of transportation. But if there was an accident, the death rate was 100%. He Chen didn't know how he got home. He just knew that his life seemed to have ended on this day. Everything was cold, there wasn't a trace of warmth. He opened a bottle of 52-year-old red wine and drank it all in one breath. There was a heavy rain outside, and he stood in front of the window with a roar before suddenly kneeling down. No one in this world had seen Hee-chun like this before. His deep eyes were filled with chaos, like there was nothing but despair. Why? 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 He kept repeating these three words in a hoarse voice. There was a strong smell of alcohol in the air, and the sound of running water in the bathroom on the second floor suddenly stopped. Tick! The door in the hall was suddenly opened. She wiped her hair while walking down. She looked at Hee-chun kneeling in front of the window and said, "What are you doing? Bow to heaven and earth." At this moment, Luo Qingshun could feel that his back was suddenly startled. In the next second, he rushed to her side like a madman and hugged her tightly. "I know it's a dream, so please don't wake up." His low voice sounded beside her ear with a touch of gentleness. He hugged her tightly, afraid that she would disappear in the next second. "You said you would give me cranberry biscuits when I came back. Is Mr. Hee-chun going back on his words?" Her lips curled as a faint mist appeared in her eyes. Before the plane crashed, she ran into the toilet as fast as she could and used teleportation. Due to the difference in the latitude of the sky, there was a slight deviation when she used instant transmission. As a result, she ended up in the middle of nowhere. By the time he got home, he was already drenched in the wee hours of the morning. Her phone was gone, and Hee-chun didn't pick up when she called him with the home phone. She could only take a shower in helplessness, but she never thought that she would see Hee-chun after taking a shower. Chapter 864. Hee-chun suddenly trembled before he said with a self-deprecating smile, "I was afraid that after I made the biscuits, you would have disappeared." He didn't realize that he was in reality at all. He thought that this was a dream, and he wasn't willing to wake up. Where would I go if I disappeared? Luo Qingshun pursed her lips into a smile. "I had something to do, so I didn't get on the plane." She knew that this explanation was the most convincing one. After all, no one would know if she got on the plane or not. For a long time, there was only silence. There was a faint smell of red wine in the air and the sound of someone's fast breathing. Without knowing how long passed, he took a deep breath and asked, "You really didn't get on the plane?" "Really?" Luo Qingshun put his cool hand on her face. "My body temperature is hotter than yours. I'm not a ghost." "Stop." Hee-chun held her even tighter in fear. "I don't want to hear it. Don't say it." He was afraid that he would hear what he didn't dare hear. It was like he hadn't separated from reality and dreams, like he hadn't pulled himself away from the edge of life and death. There was still a lingering fear in his heart. "So, is Mr. He still willing to make cranberry biscuits for me?" Luo Qingshun gave a soft laugh as a trace of warmth appeared in her eyes. "Of course. As long as you're here, I can make anything for you." "Really, Luo Qingshun, anything is fine." His voice was a bit humble as he repeated it in her ear again and again. She couldn't help thinking of the words Je Shui said in 10 years. No matter how calm and steady a person was, when they met the person they loved the most and lost themselves, that kind of pain would make all their reason collapse. Even if Hee-chun was rational, when he thought that he had lost Luo Qingshun, he was still like a child, not knowing what to do. The oven was filled with the smell of biscuits and the sound of water splashing in the bathroom. Hee-chun looked completely different after he came out of the shower. He wasn't as panicked, but his eyes never left her. "I don't know how many paths there are in life, but I think this is the happiest moment of my life." When he spoke flirtatious words, he was still so serious, but his pair of dark eyes seemed to be glowing. Luo Qingshun took out the biscuits from the oven and said with a smile, "Why do I feel that Master Zhishui can write another book?" "Oh." Hee-chun raised a brow. "What does Mrs. He think I should write?" After a whole day of trepidation, he suddenly realized that the tip of his pen should not stop at 10 years. Perhaps 10 years would continue to be a better story, because the second half of his life with Luo Qingshun was completely different from Feng Cheng and Yen Fan. "Let me think about it." She softly picked up a cranberry biscuit and looked at Hee-chun with a faint smile. "Great God, Zhishui, do you have the courage to break through yourself?" He won before reaching out to wipe the biscuit crumbs from her mouth. I asked Miss Film Empress to give me your suggestions. I feel that Su Tang is better than 10 years in many aspects. Luo Qingshan revealed a faint smile as a faint sparkle appeared in her eyes. How about great God Shui, right? The overbearing so falls in love with me! Exclamation point. Chapter 865. Many years later, when 10 years gradually faded from people's minds and Joshua's second book was serialized. The day after Joshua's novel was released, Luo Qingshan's name became a hot search. Because since she won the title of Film Empress, she never acted in another movie. Whether it was a movie, a TV show, or an advertisement, there wasn't a single one. The people who hated her before suddenly became fans during this long period of time. Because this kind of girl was real enough. In the hearts of the public, Luo Qingshan filmed 10 years for Joshua and for Hichen's 10 years. 3 years later, Joshua's second book was finished. The title of the book was very simple. 20 Years. Cranberry's Exclusive Memories. Although Luo Qingshan really wanted to change this title to Overbearing CEO Falls in Love with Me, Hichen had a begging look on his face, so she decided to accept his ideas. On a certain starry night, Mr. He placed a stack of documents on the table and said to her, "There is good news and bad news. Which one does my wife want to hear first?" "Good news." Luo Qingshan pursed her lips and said, "I like sweet before bitter. If it's not sweet enough, I might not want to hear the bad news." Hichen cleared his throat and said, "All right, that's very wife." Hichen looked at her and said, "Star Art has already bought the rights to 20 years. We can start filming now." Luo Qingshan heard this and couldn't react for a second. After 3 seconds, she said, "To put it simply, did you buy your own rights?" "That's right." Hichen nodded and said with a serious look, "You can say that." Then, "How much did you take from yourself?" She suddenly felt that Hichen was a bit cute, like he was deliberately trying to make her happy. "Wife, this is the bad news," Hichen said with a faint smile, "because after all this is a bit like going in my left pocket and going out my right pocket, so I've decided not to charge any royalties." "Oh," Luo Qingshan responded with a long sigh. "We really saved a lot of money. This way, we'll have more money for the male and female leads." Male lead and female lead. Hichen pulled her hand and pulled her into his embrace. "This budget doesn't exist." At this moment, Luo Qingshan had a bad feeling. She felt that everything was just a preface. It was a large-scale foreshadowing for the sake of the plot. Because the male and female leads are us. Hichen looked at her with pampering eyes. "I feel that the two of us are very suitable." When he said this, his expression wasn't like the normal, overbearing president Hichen. "What?" She blinked and said, "I'll have to ask Great God Joshua about this." She took out her phone and wanted to send a private message on Weibo. But she found that Joshua had posted on Weibo half an hour ago, and there were already several hot searches. Cranberry's Exclusive Memories. Luo Qingshan at Hichen. "I feel that the male and female leads are quite good." She found that she had fallen into Hichen's trap. It was a complete trap. Hichen, when she wanted to say something, she found that there was a soft kiss on her lips. Time kept passing, and whether it was 10 years or 20 years, they would always be together. Whether he was Joshua or Hichen, whether he was a writer or a president. Chapter 866. I don't like fighting with others, but I will never give up what I deserve. Hichen. My life wasn't that perfect. I wasn't a rich second generation or an official second generation. I just had a father who left home and a mother who was seriously ill. I didn't have any friends since I was young, and I didn't expect to have any friends. It wasn't that I liked silence, but I knew that silence could hide me forever, until my mother's illness couldn't be delayed any longer. I brought her to the hospital and listened to the doctor say that it was an astronomical figure in my world, but I could only remain silent. A girl not far away looked at me in a daze. She seemed to be a bit sick, and the two people behind her were very respectful to her, looking like a young miss. She looked at me, and I looked back at her. But I never thought that she would walk over to me and take out a card for me without any hesitation, having me withdraw the money. Then it was very fair to say that this was an exchange, because she took the second button of my shirt. I didn't know why she did this. Was it because she pitied me or was it because of sympathy? But I knew that this face, I would never forget it in my life. When I came back after withdrawing the money, she was already gone. One of the girls behind her looked at me with disdain as she said some ugly words. She probably said that I was a liar, but I didn't feel angry at all, because I knew that there were some things that surpass humiliation, that surpassed everything. My mother's surgery went very smoothly, and I went into a kind of crazy study. I climbed up from the bottom of society and kept moving forward. I just wanted to stand side by side with her. At least if there was a miracle in the future, I could become someone in her life. I can also say the words well matched in terms of social status. After all my hard work, there was finally a change after 10 years. The Luo group went bankrupt, and I stood in an absolute position to help them. In order to repay my kindness, her parents married her to me. Actually, for a person with my personality, other than Luo Qingshun, I wouldn't agree to this kind of exchange marriage. But as long as it was her, anything was fine. I knew that she didn't like me, and I knew who she liked. If we were to talk about the darkness of my life, those 3 months when she entered Star Art and stole their internal data step by step were probably the hardest days of my life. Because I didn't know when it would end, and I didn't know when she would stop. Even so, I still couldn't bear to expose her. Although these days have been hard for me, I don't feel any heartache. Now I know what is gratitude and what is love. Or it could be said that I had given up on the love that had yet to begin. It wasn't until the meeting of Su Tang that she suddenly transformed into a completely different person. She no longer cared about Yi Zuochuan's mood. She didn't leak any information to him and directly stood against him. I don't know why she did it, but I do know that when she looked at me, my heart was beating erratically. Perhaps it was because I was still holding on to that little bit of hope, waiting for the dawn of certain dawn. I know it may or may not come, but in any case I should not wait, because I'm not equal. When she had a conflict with Bei-chun and I, the first thing I did was switch the monitor to my own computer and let Linda take care of it. When she wanted to be the female lead of 10 years, I hired the best agent in Star Art to help her become famous. Chapter 867. Although there was an indescribable discomfort in my heart for her to be with someone else, I knew that this was her path to stardom. If this was her dream, I was willing to help her achieve it, even if I had to personally drive her to a strange banquet and the person standing beside her wasn't me. But what I didn't expect was that less than half an hour after she went in, she came out alone. I would always remember that day. There were goose feather-sized snowflakes floating in the sky. The entire hotel entrance was filled with reporters that Sister AI had arranged, waiting for the news of the couple. However, she stubbornly walked out alone. It didn't matter how turbulent my heart was, my heart did skip a beat at that moment. I was always afraid of her sudden change. The more she stuck to me, the more I was afraid of losing her. This fear lasted until the day she said that she wanted to remarry me. I was the one who said the word marriage certificate. Although I probably understood what she was trying to say, I was still worried that I might misunderstand her. But when she appeared in front of me, dressed up the next day, my heart suddenly sunk. It was a very strange feeling. There was no one in this world who could understand what I was feeling. It was something that you weren't sure about for 10 years, but the most important person gave you an answer at that moment. There were a few good brothers who asked me why I would remarry her. It was probably because of her relationship with Yi Zuochuan, leaving behind a lot of gossip. Whenever someone questioned it, I would seriously tell them that there was no one in this world who could say anything bad about her. Because the moment she came into my life, she was the best gift in this world. Perhaps only when you truly care about someone will you understand that no matter how much trouble they cause, as long as they cause trouble for me, I could do anything. She seemed to use her own method to prove that she wasn't related to Yi Zuochuan. I felt that she was very cute at that time. Really, she was very cute. Actually, I didn't like her staying in a place like the entertainment industry where fishes and dragons mix together. The things on the hot searches were half true and half false. And because she was good enough, there would be more people slandering her. When people said that she wasn't good, I knew that the name Hichin didn't have any use at all. But just Shwek and my pen name, my original belief. Every year on her birthday, I would send a Weibo message to wish her well. Not for anything else, but for the fact that many people could give her their blessings on that day. Although later on, I was still jealous of Joshua. At that time, I felt that I was very funny. How could I be someone who would do such a thing? But thinking about it carefully, this might be the real me. Just like the moon, many people think that I'm high and mighty, but in fact, I'm no different from ordinary people. Later on, a reader asked me, what kind of girl could make me so obsessed? I thought for a while and wrote a reply. I've spent 10 years waiting for her to look back, so I'll use the rest of my time to protect such a look. Since she's willing to look back for me, then I'm willing to protect her at all costs. As long as I'm here, no one can say anything bad about her, because she is Luo Qingshun and because I am He Chun. Chapter 868. Welcome, little fairies, to the 10-question and 10-answer section of the male lead's heart. This section isn't available in every world. It depends on fate. Next, we welcome Star Art's president, Mr. He, to participate in our questions. First question, did you fall in love with her at first sight? Not really. Then is it love after a long time? I don't know when I fell in love, but I knew that protecting was something I had to do. Second question, what do you hate the most? The news. Oh, this system should know why director He hates it. That was the most blank time of my life I even thought about suicide. It's a good thing she didn't know. Third question, who are you jealous of the most? Ji Lisheng. Although she gave me a kiss before the kiss scene, I was still unhappy when she kissed someone else on screen. Director, he is envious and jealous. The system had a laugh for a bit. Cuckoo. Heechin cleared his throat and said, so in all the books I write, the male lead will be me. The system felt that it was hard to continue this conversation. Fourth question, if you weren't wrongly accused, were you planning on not telling her that you were Joshua? That doesn't count. I just felt that she should like Heechin more. Why Joshua? Because Joshua is a male god, but Heechun is her husband. You're good looking, everything you say is right. The system gave a helpless shrug. Who told the system not to look good? Fifth question, why did you go on the date when you knew that Gu Fei air was fake? Evil forces have to be eradicated. Otherwise, they will appear from time to time and hinder my wife's eyes. Sixth question, have you ever felt powerless at work? The screening of 10 years. Actually, I wanted to give her better resources, but power and influence can't cover the sky in the movie industry. Although he really wanted to cover the sky. Seventh question, when Michelle bullied her in the private room, why didn't you stand up immediately? I don't think Michelle bullied her. I think she made Michelle so angry that her face turned green. Heechin thought for a bit before saying, Mrs. E has a system for insulting people, so I'm just a foil in this situation. You just need to say 1 or 2 keywords. The system also felt that the host's face-slapping acting was getting better and better. Eighth question, were you nervous when you attended the Ruliska Film Festival with her? Yeah, actually, I was a little nervous, but she didn't look nervous at all. System digression. Nonsense. She had the system's exchange function. Of course, he had absolute confidence in his acting skills. Ninth question, what is the most interesting thing after marriage? She would always stand by the side while I was writing and tell me how I should describe her. Later on, when I wrote about her appearance, I used a very common phrase. What is it? Explosively beautiful. The system indicated that the host should be very unhappy. 10th question, why don't you say something you want to say to her? You know the words that can't be written. As long as you appear, I can't let my heart down. Chapter 869. Welcome back, host. The system's voice sounded in her ears, and she came back to her senses. She didn't know how she passed away. It should be because she was old, so her body suddenly stopped working. In that world, they went from 10 years to 80 years, going from being young to having white hair. There were those who liked them and those who didn't. But so what? Whether it was in or out of the movie, they only lived for themselves. They didn't have to wear the crown on their heads, and they didn't have the so-called fame and fortune. They lived better than anyone else. A sad beginning and a perfect ending. This was the life that belonged to them. The following is a summary of the mission. Host, please properly look over it. Name, Luo Qingshun World. Golden Boss. Movie Queen's ex-wife is cute. Mission completion rate, 100% there is currently one item in the EXP dimensional storage. Exquisite ring. Exchange points, 11,000, 1,000 deducted from the last world. Base points, 40. The host's 17th mission panel is below. What does appearance, physical strength, intelligence, and figure mean? Luo Qingshan said, "You have to explain this to me, otherwise I might refuse to go to this world." Because the previous host was very fat. Understood, no need to explain. She looked at the base and gritted her teeth, not planning on using it. She could lose weight, and her appearance wasn't low. She would definitely be a great beauty after losing weight. After that, the image in the bronze mirror changed. Mission grade, B. Experience gained, 500. Exchange points gained, 5,000. Female lead, Luo Qingshan male lead. Huasu Yi supporting female lead. Luo Jin Yin supporting female lead. Duan Air supporting male lead. Qian Yin mission content. Returned in 9 months before the female lead died and obtained the love of the male lead Huasu Yi. Currently importing memories. Please receive them. Host. She was surrounded by a dirty wooden shed. She was wearing a man's outfit, and her clothes were made of brocade. It was clear that she came from a large family. When the memories came, her heart couldn't help skipping a beat. There was a sentence that suddenly popped up in her mind. Some people aren't destined for you, so you can't approach them. They're all good people, but you're just a foil. The original owner was born in a rich family in the capital. Her elder sister was the #1 beauty in the capital. She was proficient in music, chess, calligraphy, and painting. They were of the same father and mother, and the gossipy old woman always said, "Your mother must have given her all to give birth to your sister, but she must have done it half-heartedly when she gave birth to you." The original owner grew up in such an environment. She had an elder sister who loved her to the bone and a younger sister who knew how to play tricks. This younger sister only had the same father, but not the same mother. Her mother was a prostitute from a brothel, and her father had left a seed in the brothel, which was how she entered the Luo family. She was born the same year as Luo Qingshan and was 6 months younger than her. It was also because of this that Luo Shu, who was the original owner's father, couldn't resist the desire in his body when the original owner's mother was pregnant. From then on, the Luo family had 2 mistresses. Her elder sister Luo Jin Yin was the center of attention when she was born. As long as it was a man on Chang'an Street, they would never forget Luo Jin Yin. It was because of this that Luo Jin Yan's position in the Luo family was very high. Her so-called younger sister Luo Zhao Xian didn't dare play tricks on Luo Jin Yan, so she could only deal with her when she had nothing to do. After all, she was that unremarkable.